All right. Well, you know what? I got a lot of stuff here I'm going to cover. I'm not sure how long this is going to be, but we're going to see how long I can get into this. So, yeah, let's just get right into this. Let me start with this. This first video is about Metal Gear and why revolutions fail. So, let me tell you this. Let me just go ahead and tell y'all right now. I have never played Metal Gear Solid, any of the games at all. I was too much of a normie, and I played things like Close Combat 3, The Russian Front, and games like Medal of Honor, Allied Assault. So I never played Metal Gear Solid, or any of those other things. I don't know about Snake or any of these things. I just see the memes, and I make what I will of them. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this first video and react to it. I watched the whole thing, and I kind of have a vague idea of what I want to say. So let's go from there, shall we? All right, let's do it. I'm going to go ahead and big screen it. Why not? We're going to go ahead and big screen it. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. Today I want to talk to you about a game series that I adore, and a problem that has faced many of the most successful revolutions throughout history. This problem is, how does a revolution that intends to radically shift the social and economic order survive when surrounded by the hostile reactionary forces of the status quo? And how does the ongoing survival of this new revolutionary state stay true to its core beliefs when competing for supremacy against the old order? If you're a
So let's get into some things. I just noticed this. Okay, so we have a rifle, possibly a shotgun right here. We've got a picture. We got a sword right here. This is a LARPing sword. This isn't going to do much. We have a picture of Peter Falk, which I will bring up later on. We've got gay pride flag. We got an old Casio right here. We've got, I believe, the lesbian flag. And it looks like this is like a desk. Okay. I'm just pointing these things out just to say we're going to discuss some more in depth. And of course, she's wearing more of a Vietnam era. And I say she with a lot of loose talk. But the thing is, a Vietnam jacket. So let's get into this.
Marxist-Leninist, or a student of the history of the Russian Revolution and the USSR, then you've probably heard a variant of this topic referred to as the problem of socialism in one country. Shortly after the Russian Revolution, this topic became the source of many disagreements between Trotsky and Stalin, each referring back to their own interpretations of Lenin's opinion on this issue and how to work around it. This problem is also not exclusive to Marxists. Many of the points I will cover also apply to a greater or lesser extent to an anarchist revolution, and there are some examples of this I'll cover later. Being the only revolutionary force amid—
I'm just going to tell you right now, gives very vague generalities. Does not speak in any specific terms, does not talk about the use of war communism or barracks communism that happened in the Soviet Union post post just beginning Soviet era. Does not talk about the efforts of the Soviet Union to try to free countries like Cuba or, the DPRK or whichever country you want to choose, even Afghanistan if you want to make that choice, or Vietnam. They make lip service. You know what? I'll let her go ahead and speak for herself. Go ahead.
Amidst a sea of reactionaries has some obvious problems. But as I'll explain, the most obvious solutions to these obvious problems ends up being to reproduce power structures that are at odds with the goal of creating radical change. In order to better illustrate this topic, I'll be talking about a game series that on the surface maybe doesn't make you think of revolutions. Metal Gear is more well known as a series about spies and giant robots, but as we'll come to see, Despite his own denials of an ideological motivation, Big Boss is in fact absolutely a revolutionary, with an ideology based in freedom, equality, and justice. We will also come to see that despite his ideology based in these positive goals, he consistently finds himself in positions that fundamentally conflict with the changes that he desires for the world. In this video, I'll be talking about a couple of the games in the Metal Gear series in detail, primarily Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, and Peace Walker. I'll also be mentioning parts of Portable Ops and Metal Gears 1 and 2, and Metal Gear Solid 3. There will be some spoilers. Also, yes, I know about the questions about Big Boss's true identity in Metal Gear Solid 5, but for the purposes of what we're going to be talking about, I'm not going to be getting into that at all, and I'm just going to be calling him Big Boss for simplicity. We're going to be talking most about MGS 5 and Peace Walker, because these games cover the events wherein Big Boss works to create basically a society outside the existing order. He basically does a revolution. This work includes the creation of the Mother Base, and then the other Mother Base after the first one was destroyed.
So hold on. Trying to create a society out of that does not mean a revolution, at least to my definition. Let me just put it that way. The thing is that you could say loosely that's the case, but to completely say that the Zapatistas, for example, completely, are doing a revolution. No, they are maintaining what they have and trying to keep up a culture and waiting to see what's happening. They make no loyalties to anyone, and they have their own very insulated society. If you want to call that a revolution, that's fine. You could say even that, there are, Mormon enclaves that are separate from the rest of the world, or separate from the rest of the country. That doesn't mean that they're doing a fucking revolution, okay? Let's get that point right out of the way. Let me go ahead and check the chat right quick here. I just want to go ahead and see here. Yeah. Man or woman. It's trans. Yeah. So this person's entire identity is made up of consumer choices. Yeah. No reference to national communism music. Nope. Absolutely not. Let's go ahead and get into this a bit further. I don't feel like big screen it now. Let's go ahead and just get into it.
Destroyed by reactionaries. This society that Big Boss is attempting to create is unique because of its goals and methods, which have a lot more in common with anarchist and communist principles than you might initially imagine. All of this is to say that while on the surface, this private military contractor turned rogue nation may seem more similar to reactionary military fetishism than anything truly left radical, if we examine it a bit deeper, we can find an unmistakable revolutionary ideal behind the actions of Big Boss and his comrades. Now first, it's pretty easy to look at the question, can socialism exist in one country, and come to the seemingly obvious conclusion, yes, it can because it does. I mean, look at China, look at Cuba, look at Vietnam, etc. And yeah, duh, right? But the original debate was not just about if a country created through a revolution under the socialist banner could...
Just for the teal deer folks who are going to watch this later on for the VOD, the video on demand, this person is advocating for Trotskyism, basically. This person says, yeah, Trotsky was right. That's basically what this person says. And it's pretty disgusting. Same thing with Vosh, where they say, yeah, we like Trotsky. The fact is that the fakes and the synthetic left always show their true colors. Let's go ahead and break this down a bit more, though, just to make sure, though. If you don't feel like watching the whole thing, that's fair. I just figured, just for the teal deer folks out there. Go ahead.
Survive. Survival of the revolution was a big question early on, but as the debates continued and the reality of the USSR as the lone revolutionary state in the 1920s set in, the problem of socialism in one country shifted. The question became not only could a single revolutionary country survive the pressure of the internal and external forces aligned against it, but could that single revolutionary country ever truly realize full socialism while under that pressure? Full socialism can mean many things to many people, but in the case we're discussing, I'll define it as the collective ownership of the means of production by the workers. With the question expanded in this.
So this is very much in the same vein as people like Vosh, who are just like, well, if the workers don't control it, then it's not socialism. If they still have the commodity form, it's not socialism. This is a Western idea. I'll just say that right now. It's like I don't even know socialists from all over the world, but I can tell you is that that's a very westernized notion where it's just like, oh, well, if the workers don't own it, then it's not socialism. Oh, how dare you, trade your stuff on a market. You're not socialist. Where do you get off saying some stuff like that? Like I say, once again, this is the idea of, well, it's solidarity until it doesn't meet my standards. That's what this is. That's what this is. But yeah, go ahead.
This way, the answer to can socialism exist in one country becomes much less obvious. This will be the version of the question that we'll be discussing, since it is much more relevant to the discussion of Metal Gear, and because the answer isn't yes, duh. If we take the question in these terms, I think it's kind of easy to see that no, the effectiveness of these isolated maybe examples of socialism in bringing about the full intent of socialism within their own borders has fallen a bit short of the mark. In the example,
what this person never talks about is the Iron Curtain, the influence of countries like Hungary or the German Democratic Republic or Czechoslovakia or Poland being socialist countries as well. This person makes no mention of that. They make no mention of countries like Mozambique. They make no mention of countries like Zimbabwe. They make no question of that. They make no mention of it at all because they know that will hurt their argument. They speak in vague generalities and they cover up their absolute shallow understanding, their shallow criticisms with video games. Now, I'm not going to sit here and be, oh, video games are bad. No. I'm just saying is that do a little bit more than just talk about a video game. Talk about specific incidents, but this person doesn't do that. Just for the record, they don't. But go ahead.
Examples we have, this fundamental point of worker ownership has been watered down to allow for compatibility with capitalist enterprise, or by using the mechanism of the state as a proxy for worker ownership. The thing I want to address here is why that is. Why do our existing and historical examples of isolated socialism trend towards this incomplete socialism? What is it that causes this to happen? And is it something avoidable? To start to answer this, let's now really turn towards our example, Metal Gear. The first thing we need to discuss is Big Boss's goals.
Let me ask y'all this. Yeah, the minutia. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll also clip that one channel. If workers are able to buy things that make their life better, it's not socialism. If farmers don't collectively own the shovels, it's not real socialism. Yeah, stupid white lefties. They really are. Yeah. Life in this type of socialism would be exhausting. Imagine going to the meetings and votes every single day trying to run a military democratically. Yeah. The minutia. Yeah. In reality, the unions dig up dead nuns and issue labor vouchers, aka not evil money. Yeah, exactly. This is okay. Let's go ahead and continue.
This is important to cover early on because many of the problems of revolution in one country are not just literal logistical issues as you might imagine, but are actually issues that pit the fundamental principles of the goals of the revolution against tactical, economic, and political realities on the ground. As we'll see, many of the problems that face Big Boss in his endeavors are these same types of pragmatic versus idealistic issues. If you're familiar with Metal Gear, you probably remember numerous times in which Big Boss referred to himself and his work as non-ideological.
We have no nation, no philosophy, no ideology. We go where we're needed, fighting not for country, not for government, but for ourselves. We need no reason to fight. We fight because we are needed. We will be the deterrent for those with no other recourse. We are soldiers without borders, our purpose defined by the era we live in.
Big Boss is definitely not actually non-ideological. And as we'll get into in depth, the very idea of a non-ideological army with a non-ideological strongman leader and a non-ideological conflict with both the USSR and the USA is obviously absurd. Rather than being motivated by the ideological texts of an old German guy, Big Boss finds his purpose in the words of his former mentor, the boss.
I could see the planet as it appeared from space. That's when it finally hit me. Space exploration is nothing but another game in the power struggle between the US and the USSR. Politics, economics, the arms race, they're all just arenas for meaningless competition. I'm sure you can see that, but the Earth itself has no boundaries. No East, no West, no Cold War. And the irony of it is, the United States and the Soviet Union are spending billions on their space programs and the missile race, only to arrive at the same conclusion. In the 21st century, everyone will be able to see that we are all just inhabitants of a little celestial body called Earth. A world without communism or capitalism, that is the world I wanted to see. But reality continued to betray me.
Essentially, the boss expresses her desire for a world without the national, economic, and ideological borders as they currently exist. Beyond this, we don't get a lot of clear political ideas out of the boss before Big Boss is forced to kill her as part of his government-assigned mission. As time passed and Big Boss's understanding of what the boss wanted for the world evolved, he often expressed these ideas in conversations with his trusted second-in-command, Kaz Miller. Kaz expands on the problem of capitalism and communism that the boss originally mentioned.
Costa Rica isn't alone. All of Latin America is getting swept up in the superpowers' Cold War. The whole ideological split between East and West. In the end, it's just a greedy scramble for wealth by the ruling classes. The Western bourgeois stand to lose everything if their countries go communist. After all, the communists want to abolish private property altogether. So the capitalist rulers desperately tried to halt the global spread of communism, hence the phenomenon of red baiting. And the communists, for their part, didn't exactly stay true to their principles. They tried to escape class-based society, but between Stalin's autocracy...
All right. Sorry, that's a long, fucking horrible, This trot word vomit. It really is. This is absolute, Even Engels had a book called Social Utopianism and Scientific, This is, it is pretty horrible. This is absolute trot nonsense, isn't it, folks? Lesbian bizo, I am not allowed, They should have died when the ice pick made its way through Trotsky's skull. Oh, gosh. Okay, but
and the rise of the nomenclatura, they ended up creating one anyway. Once people have power, they stop caring about equality. That's where communism, where society in general reaches its limits.
Yeah.
The
True.
rulers only care about their own gain.
Of course.
The opposing side becomes a risk factor that threatens the profit, and thus the ongoing struggle between capitalism and communism was born.
And now, nuclear deterrence is part of the picture.
Exactly.
Capitalism and communism are then problems because they are ideologies that inflict domination of the powerful upon the masses, with communism becoming an implement of domination due to its failure to stay true to the principles of a classless society. The boss also described the way in which nations and ideologies force soldiers to accept their capricious definition of who their enemies are, thereby manipulating them into actions like having to kill their former comrades. The boss experienced this manipulation firsthand when she was ordered to execute her former comrade and lover, and then later when she was killed by Big Boss under similar circumstances. Based on all this, we can arrive at two distinct goals. One, a world without borders, ideologies of domination, and nations. And two, the end of the manipulation of soldiers by people in positions of political or economic power.
Yeah, right.
To achieve these goals, Big Boss intends to use the strength of his army without borders to challenge the dominating powers that have split the world.
Exactly. We know only how to fight, but we refuse to live our lives at the whim of the state. The MSFC
This sounds like some ANCAP nonsense. Go ahead.
deal is patterned after Pangaea, the supercontinent from 250 million years ago. Back then, the whole world was one landmass, one world. No gaps, no rifts.
There were also dinosaurs who were fighting each other. I mean, the fuck does that have to... I mean, I know it's a game. I do understand. It's just some script that he's reading. But it's like, what type of feihua are you reading into this? This is... this is some humanistic type garbage. It really is. Go ahead.
Our strength will take us back there.
From this, we can see that when Big Boss or Kaz says that they intend to be non-ideological, and Big Boss especially does say this a lot, what they really mean is that their ideology exists outside of the binary of capitalism versus communism and of East versus West.
運営は俺に任せればいい。あんたが望む
Nani? Go ahead. Nani? Go ahead.
主義も思想も国境も越えた軍隊。一緒に作ろう。戦う者の理想郷を。あんたが望む理想郷を。国境もなき軍隊。はっ。
So obviously, this army without borders, this home for those who fight, isn't bereft of all ideology whatsoever. In fact, as with most media, these games are steeped in ideology. Big Boss and Kaz, despite what they may say, are no exception. And yes, gamers, something can be ideological even if someone in the text says it isn't. Also, everything is ideological. So
Well, okay. So hold on.
please don't comment and tell me that Big Boss says it isn't ideological. I'm begging you.
So the thing is, when this person, I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to say this person says that everything is ideological. Or everything is politics, bro. Is, number one, I don't think the rest of the world sees it that way. Not to the same degree as these Western leftists. Also, if everything is ideological, now go with me on this here. You have a picture of Peter Falk. Peter Falk being the guy who played Columbo. I could say, if your picture of Peter Falk is there right by your Casio, is that you are saying that you support the police. The reason I say that, here's my my super woke impression. I don't actually believe this. But that since you have this picture of Peter Falk right by that Casio, that you support the police, ipso facto, because they made Columbo such a lovable, likable character who was just kind of, made himself look like a goober, when in reality he was actually collecting all the clues and whatnot, and says, "Hey there, I noticed you dropped something there," and all that type of thing. That ultimately the fact that you have a picture of Peter Falk right by that Casio means that you support the police, just in a different way. That you think that the horrible fascist cops are evil, but Peter Falk playing a character is perfectly okay because he was likable and he was relatable. Couldn't you say that? If everything is if politics is ideology, if everything is ideology, then the same thing would go for you. The same thing of you culturally appropriating this fake sword, because it looks absolute fake. It looks like just a showpiece. You wouldn't hang that on the wall. Also, the fact of you got your LARPy gun here, whatever that may be, a shotgun or like a 22, I guarantee that is not anything above a 22. But still. So when I hear this whole idea of, everything's ideology, and it's like, okay, well, let me look at your desk then and see what I can pick out of what you support, if I really dig deep, So when people say that type of shit, it's like, okay. I mean, that means that you're full of shit too. That's my take anyway. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah. We Americans in general have a sense of viewing all life. Yeah. All of life is politics. Yeah. Bad borders, bad nationalism. Yeah. Trotsky wore glasses. Yep. Exactly. Borders, bad nationalism, bad actual distinct cultures and lands. Bad. Yeah. When I was at work earlier, I was starting to understand where Mao was coming from, where he criticized people from the people who book worship because we have too many educated retards. We really do, yeah. LARPism is a person's ideology. It really is. It absolutely is. Let's go ahead and continue on here.
So now that we've established that these guys do in fact have an ideology, a system of ideas and ideals, especially ones which form the basis of economic or political theory and policy, I'm going to get into how they intend and tried to put these ideas into practice. Here is where the real issues start to come in. Because while a lot of what Big Boss and Kaz say about creating a place for soldiers to live free of ideological manipulation and a world without borders might sound nice, the methods that they undertake to reach those goals present inescapable contradictions. The first question that they need to answer, since it represents the first step in any of their work, is how do they get people to be on their side? Specifically, how do you create an army while trying to stick to the idea of freeing soldiers from oppressive power structures of manipulation? Throughout MGS5 and Peace Walker, it is not very well explained how exactly Big Boss somehow turns enemy combatants into extremely loyal soldiers in such a reliable and speedy way, since his primary method of recruitment is basically kidnapping. It doesn't make much sense to claim the moral high ground against nations that recruit through propaganda and manipulation, but still ostensibly allow people to join of their own free will. The mainline games make some reference to this issue.
Start bringing people in. Use this. It's a Fulton recovery device. When you're in the field, use it to extract any soldiers or prisoners you want back here. And we'll see if we can't persuade them to join the ranks of Diamond Dogs.
But to find an example of exactly how this works, we need to look outside the main series, to Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops.
Quick thinker, too. They trained you well. You're a good soldier.
Will you join us? You're here to save us, and you want me to help you defeat Gene. What's so funny? You think he's been brainwashed? Brainwashed? Is that what you think is happening here? That's why we followed him, not you. You'll never be able to stop him.
Justice, huh? The meaning of justice can change from one day to the next. A professional soldier never brings justice into the mission. The only ones who need a reason to fight are the ones who fight for a living. That's what my mentor told me.
Your mentor, the one who taught you the art of battle. Who was she?
They called her the boss. I killed her.
The boss? The legendary soldier? And Snake? You must be...
I've just been waiting to, yeah, LARPism isn't, yeah. I just want a quick idea. How many people have actually played Metal Gear Solid in this chat? Go ahead and press 1 if you have ever played any of the Metal Gear Solid games. Because I have, yeah. Because I have never played Metal Gear Solid. Honestly, I've never played. This girl needs to go back to the park, enjoy life, stop being mad about politics, and try to make propaganda. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. I'll just wait for a minute. I just wanted to see. I'm curious. Never. Not me. Okay. Yeah, I've never played it myself. Yeah, your brain on consumerism. It really is. It really is. Let's go ahead and continue on with this shit.
Be Big Boss. You're the hero who killed Colonel Volgin at Groznygrad.
Prove your loyalty as...
You know what? I actually watched this whole thing. And basically, they're just continuing to talk about the game and about spies and everything. I'm just going to cut to the end of this shit because it's so cringe, honestly. This is close enough. All right.
Power is incomplete and unhelpful if we're seeking practical solutions. If that were the case, and all we really needed was a really great and morally righteous leader who will never compromise their own morals, well, then we're going to be waiting a very long time for our perfect, untarnishable vanguard. Also, if staunchness of belief alone was enough to outfight all armies, outmaneuver all spies, and outproduce all capitalists, then the brave efforts of our revolutionary forebears would have certainly achieved their victory long ago. The question isn't, can socialism or anarchism or communism exist in one country, but can any of these ideas realistically compete from a position of relative disadvantage with systems that are bereft of a moral character by design, whose success on the world stage are defined by the completeness of their rapaciousness and cruelty? In order to survive when outnumbered in these conditions, revolutionaries have often traded justice for exploitation in order to compete in a rigged game. So then, if the failure does not entirely lie with individual actors within these revolutions, who were faced with no good options, where does the solution lie? For Leon Trotsky, the solution to the problem of socialism in one country was to ensure an international revolution in the most developed.
Now, the thing is, once again, correct me where I'm wrong, chat, once again, but I believe Trotsky worked with the Nazis. I believe that he worked doing propaganda for Goebbels, so I heard. And so what are you talking about once again with Leon Trotsky? It's ironic, of course, that Leon Trotsky was very bougie in a lot of ways. He was very elitist in some ways. He was very much somebody who liked the West far more than the Slavs that he grew up around in Ukraine. Because, of course, his father was rich and everything else. So it kind of makes sense. But the thing is, let's hear more of this garbage.
Or advanced countries. In an isolated proletarian dictatorship, the internal and external contradictions grow inevitably along with the successes achieved. If it remains isolated, the proletarian state must finally fall victim to these contradictions. The way out for it lies only in the victory of the proletariat of the advanced countries. In his estimation, if
Of course, this person doesn't even talk about third worldism, do they? They don't care about the third world. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to be an MLM and be like, yeah, but it's just like, come on. Once again, only in the advanced countries can this happen. Ugh, go ahead.
If enough of the most powerful nations in the world transitions to a socialist mode, they could effectively combat the military, economic, and political threat posed to them by the remaining capitalist powers. Though at the time it was theorized by some, like Stalin, that the USSR could survive on its own in the long term and build a real socialist state.
Please don't talk about countries like Hungary. Don't talk about the German Democratic Republic. Don't talk about Vietnam or Cuba or Mozambique or Zimbabwe. Don't talk about any of those countries. Don't talk about Nkrumah or talk about Zaire. Don't talk about any of these countries because none of them had socialism. Cuba never had socialism. It's all false. Unless America falls to socialism, then that is the only true socialism, apparently. Oh, golly. I've never really gotten into Trotskyism, but if this is Trotskyism, this is trash. This is trash in terms of ideology. It's trash. I'll just tell you that right now. Yeah. Bro, let's just invade every country on earth. Really. This is where neocons come from. Yeah. I watched this video by Athletes Project. Type in his name, Call of Duty, Ultra Nationalist Party. I would, but I have some other videos that I want to watch, including a Vosh one. But, I'll go ahead and see here. Call of Duty Ultra National. Okay, let me do that. Oh, is this? I think I know what you're talking about.
Hey, what is going on, guys? It is the
Oh, yeah, I've watched this. Yeah, I've watched this before. Yeah, I've watched this. This is pretty good. This is pretty good stuff. I don't feel like reviewing it, though. I hate to be rude, Will DeMarco, but I do have a point to make here. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and skip to the end. This was pretty good, though, I have to say. All the intricacies of the Soviet Union, this and that. But, yeah. Yeah, doesn't have to be now. Okay. Can't wait to watch Vosh. Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's go ahead and get into this. Okay, we're almost done with this video.
The historical reality proved this to be untrue. If we expand on the problem of this isolation, we see that it is not exclusive to Russia, and not exclusive to socialists either. Even anarchist revolutions must contend with the reality of defending against authoritarian armies, spies, provocateurs, and the question of how to ensure production commensurate with their survival without the use of exploitation. Big Boss faced the same problem that all the revolutions I just listed have had to contend with. How do you compete with and defeat exploitation without employing it yourself? This problem is the most severe when the revolution is entirely isolated, as in the case of Russia in the first quarter of the 20th century, and as with Big Boss's mother base.
I've brought this point up before, but I will say it again. Henry Ford worked with Stalin and Hitler. Okay, the Gaz factory, the Gorky Automotive Plant, in what used to be called Gorky in the Soviet Union, was now today is known as I'm trying to think of it. Let's see, Gorky, Russia. Oh yeah, Nizhny Novgorod. That's it. Yeah, Nizhny Novgorod, which is where the Gaz factory is, or the Gorky Automotive Plant. It's still called Gaz, even though no one knows what Gaz means. I mean, if they did, they'd be like, "Oh shit!" But yeah, it was named after Maxim Gorky. But yeah, that factory was built by Ford Motor Company. That's a little indication. But the thing is that that she doesn't want to talk about this, or this person doesn't want to talk about it. It's just so fucking cringe, man. Golly. Okay, we're almost done.
Widespread and interconnected revolutions that are not under constant military threat and that do not rely on production from the exploitative world economy would be able to far more easily put their intended means into action, with no period of temporarily accepting vanguardist domination. But it's not just that a world revolution would have an easier time. I would also agree with Trotsky that in a world without a global revolution, any isolated revolution surrounded by capitalist imperialist states.
Okay, the thing is with Trotsky, as far as I know, is Trotsky sounds like an elitist. He also just sounds like somebody who was utterly compromised. He's just like, world revolution. Now, of course, the reality is that he never looked at the 1919 revolution in Germany, which absolutely failed. And of course, the future of the KPD, the Communist Party of Germany, wherein they decided to go against both the Social Democrats and the Nazis, although they considered the Social Democrats to be the direct enemies, which kind of makes sense because ultimately they did kill their comrade, good old, I mean, as cringe as they were, good old, I was going to say Lippstadt, but that's not it. Not Rosenberg, I'm sorry, but killing the two revolutionaries, and they had their own Bavarian Socialist Republic, but it just absolutely crapped itself out because they could not build any solidarity with the people. But of course, idiots like Trotsky didn't even realize that. So when they talk about world revolution, they don't want to talk about what happened in Germany. They don't want to talk about the 1919 revolution. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about the KPD or talk about, Ernst Thälmann. They never want to talk about that. It's like, oh, well, it didn't work out. Whatever. But yeah, cringe, bro.
Would in the long term face contradictions that would lead either to its inevitable defeat via collapse or reintegration into the capitalist economy. I believe that the revolution attempted by Big Boss for a stateless, classless, global society of equals exposes this reality very clearly. While Big Boss's goals...
See, you notice once again that Vosh, of course, has come out and said Trotsky was right. Now we see this video from a fairly, this is a fairly obscure bread tube channel, very loosely said. But very loose, when they come out and say Trotsky, in this time when the left is so divided, more divided, I think, than it has been in the past 10 or 15 years, you have to question where these people's motivations lie. Now we see that it lies in false ideas. They are, they are rooted in these ideas which failed over and over and ultimately were co-opted by capitalists in terms of neoconservatism. This idea, people like, I can't, oh my goodness, my mind really doesn't work, but, the likes of people like, of Paul Wolfowitz, who, who really supported the war in Iraq. And then, all this sort of thing, to spread democracy. That's the legacy of Trotsky's. Now, of course, this person doesn't want to equate that or anything else, but it goes to show where their true colors are, what their true colors are.
Are in direct opposition to any kind of state or nation. It's obvious, even from the very beginning, that the only tactical options for defense that he considered valid necessarily involved the creation of a social structure that would result in the elevation of him and his inner circle to rulers. Then, from the position of rulers, they were forced to continue expanding these tactical measures to the point that their initial intentions and values were completely compromised. Because of Big Boss's decision to create an army, to form a hierarchical command structure, and to conduct economic relations with the outside world. He ensured that his methods would have to remain in contradiction to his goals up until the point of an absolute military victory.
See, the thing is, another idea that just popped in my head is, even if you had a world revolution, would that socialism be the way that you like it? As this person said at the beginning, kind of like what Vosh says, well, they don't have the workers don't own the means of production. They still engage in the commodity form. It's like, well, okay, even if nobody had the commodity form, if workers didn't own it, then apparently it isn't socialism. The thing is, it's just like individual countries have their own histories. Individual states have their own histories. This is why a lot of these things fail. It's like, you think that China and Russia are the same country? No. China and Russia have very long, complicated histories with, kings and, different revolutionary struggles, breakups, everything else. And it's just like, you can't really compare those two things. So when, this is why I don't get this idea of world revolution. It's like, it's different in every country. The material conditions are different. It's different. And you could say, once again, go ahead. I can't.
Victory against every state in the world that opposed him. With no realistic hope of achieving said absolute military victory, Big Boss's goals are effectively reduced to nothing more than finding a method of survival amidst a sea of enemies.
Mission complete, boss.
It's easy and fun to just say Trotsky was right, and that the
Ooh. I want to throw up. Oh, I want to throw up. I either throw up or just. You know what? I'm not even gonna say that, because that's just. I'm not gonna bait that person, but ugh.
solution to the problem of revolution in one country is just, do the revolution everywhere. But as I hope I've explained here, any revolution that does not incapacitate the imperialist nations will face the virtual certainty of military attack, sabotage, and a well-funded counter-revolution. Additionally, a lone anarchist or socialist revolution will be unable to compete head-to-head against the economic power of nations that make use of domination and exploitation of the poor of the world, unless they too engage in those same mechanisms of domination and exploitation.
I seriously had no idea this person at least had the sympathies for Trotsky. I had no idea. But once I saw this, I was like, oh my, what is this garbage? Oh.
While the possibility of a world revolution is daunting, we're fortunate in current times to have numerous advantages that they didn't during revolutions a century ago. Greater capacity for instant communication, decentralized platforms for spreading messages to the widest possible audience, and easy access to all recorded knowledge of past revolutionaries puts us in as good a position.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is that it depends on the person who decides to take in that information. When you decide to make a video on Metal Gear Solid, and then you say, well, Trotsky was right, that means that you didn't even want to look at the history of what happened with Stalin. Besides, Stalin killed people, and they didn't control the means of production. They're not going to talk about barracks communism. They're not going to talk about the Eastern Bloc. They're not going to talk about the countless revolutions that did succeed because of support from the Soviet Union, whether that was Cuba, Vietnam, China, like I say, Mozambique, Zimbabwe. I mean, the DPRK, whichever. I mean, like I say, Nkrumah or Zaire or whichever. I mean, I'm picking out all these things, but it's like, bro, what are you talking about? What are you saying? All these, it's like, once again, this idea of socialism in one country, that's because it's just maddening. It just goes to show, it's like all this recorded knowledge of history through phones and through the internet. And of course, you didn't even talk about half of that. You decided to hide behind a game to describe these things. It's utterly disingenuous, and it's just like, well, Trotsky was right. All you could have done with this video is just say, well, I believe Trotsky is right. Read Trotsky. Bye. That's all this person had to do. Yeah, Lenin brought the troops home. Yeah. Trotsky was right, guys. Russia, who had just been broken by the Civil War, should have invaded everyone. Yeah, exactly. Greater access of internet does not. Yeah, does she not realize that the government has power to spy more easily? Exactly. We're going to kind of talk about that issue, autarky People's Republic. So stick around. Okay.
As anyone in history. Additionally, while capitalist imperialism might currently be entrenched in power over essentially the entire world, it's also revealed itself as unable to adapt to the certainty that infinite growth can never exist with finite resources. The idea that it will be able to indefinitely and sustainably continue its domination despite pushing the world into a spiral of accelerating ecological crises is frankly laughable. As we've seen, numerous—
Well, your ideas of Trotsky was right are laughable because the thing is that just go. I can't. Go ahead.
issues exist for any attempt to resist the prevailing political and economic systems of the world. Fortunately, we have a breadth of examples of how these problems arise and can be dealt with. Unfortunately, so many of these examples illustrate a simple problem. The ideals of the left are at their most vulnerable in situations when they're exposed to the violent and oppressive logic of the systems that currently dominate the world. If these systems are not smashed on local, national, and international levels, then any revolution, no matter how well-intentioned, may be doomed before it even starts.
Absolute trash. And the thing is, as far as I know, this is kind of like a Soph situation where Soph doesn't necessarily believe those ideas. Soph being that person who wrote things that were written by her brother, and she, basically just read it off on videos. I mean, just as creepy as that could be. But it's like, as far as I know, this is why this channel is called Huntress X Thompson, and that this person is named Huntress, and the person who writes it is called Thompson. So while they may hold kind of the same beliefs, is that this person Thompson writes these scripts. Okay, I'm done with this video. This is absolute trash. They're just. I mean, let's go ahead and do what Trotsky did, and then we'll get co-opted by capitalism again. Yay! That's basically what it is. Okay, second part. But yeah, that was disgusting. It was, yeah. This is why Ceausescu became paranoid of his neighbors. Yeah. Soph is a grifter. Yep, women are grifters. That is true. That is true. Women are grifters. Let's get into this second video, which is, of course, Vaush. I know. I get so tired of talking about him, but he just says so much stuff, and he does right now at least have the pulse of a lot of the left. This guy had 28,000 people watching his live stream of the debates, which the debates were crap. They weren't even worth talking about, to be honest with you. Yeah, whatever. Go ahead. I hate this gay ass intro.
My beautiful friends, hello. You know the drill. No chat to my side means that this is being recorded off stream. And the reason for that is because I'm going to talk about something that I can't talk about live because I don't want to spoil the experience for some people. The new Borat movie. I saw it on a television screen, and I watched it, and the photons from the screen hit my eyeballs, and the whole process, it was fantastic. Anyway.
I have never seen Borat. I have never seen the Ali G show. I've never seen anything by Sacha Baron Cohen. I've never seen that movie, The Dictator, that he did, or any of that sort of comedy. I just don't care. And the thing is that I will show in this video here, which is going to be, I'm sorry, I'm going to pause that. ADL. This is what people were talking about, and I had no idea completely what he was talking about here. But it's like once I heard it, I was like, bruh. So that's going to be the next one, to try to blow out of the water what Vaush says. This is a response to what Vaush says. Ugh, go ahead.
Anyway, yeah, spoilers, obviously. The Borat movie is coming out as kind of a political flashpoint. I mean, we're like 2 weeks away from the election, and they drop it a day early to capitalize, I imagine, on the publicity they were getting from the Rudy Giuliani segment. I don't even know if I can show it like on YouTube because it's it's kind of grody looking, but essentially the gist is that there's a bit in the new Borat movie. Actually, wait, let me back up. For those of you who don't know, the first Borat movie was a Sacha Baron Cohen movie where he pretended to be a wacky foreigner come to America to, experience American culture. And the point was, it was a satire of Americans because the character Borat was able to draw out from his surroundings some really, really despicable behavior. The scene that I remember most clearly from the first Borat movie was the one where he's talking about like executing gay people with some Southern guy at a rodeo, and the Southern guy's like, "Yeah, well, we're trying to do that here too," or something like that, And the fun of the movie is that most of the movie is impromptu. It's done under the guise of a documentary crew live recording this wacko interacting with real Americans. And the first movie produced so many angry lawsuits from people who felt their rights had been violated when they were caught doing dumb shit on film. But, here we are again. And in the second Borat film, there's a scene towards the end where...
Remember, I saw a clip on Twitter. Just interesting point here. I saw on Twitter that when Borat was doing the second movie, he tried to walk in with a beard and everything else. I think he was pretending to be like a biker or something like that. He walked into this gun store who was well known for like these real cringy ads. And they walked in and said, "Bruh, you can't be real." They walked in and caught Sacha Baron Cohen. And they were like, "No, you can't be real." And they caught him and he just walked out and, he was just nervous as fuck. Yeah, I'm just going to let you guys take that in. But once again, to say that, yeah, go ahead.
Rudy Giuliani, who's one of Trump's top men,
Kazakhstan hates Borat. That's true.
Interviewed by the co-star of the movie, who's a fake journalist. Essentially, they set this thing up, and she essentially seduces him into going into the back room, and he's like reaching down into his pants, and then they run in and interrupt the skit, probably for legal reasons. I imagine that if Rudy Giuliani's penis had actually been on screen, they would have been in a whole host of in terms of publishing the movie, things would have gotten a lot more difficult. I don't know if the run-in at that time, right when Rudy had his hand in his pants, was coincidental or what exactly. But whatever the case may be, it was funny. I enjoyed the movie. I didn't like it as much as the first Borat movie. Maybe I'm just, I have less of a sense of humor than I did.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to say this: consume. That's all it is. And he makes this joke himself to try to, once again, I will tell you this, is that if Vosh uses your meme is dead. I'll just say that right now. But the consume joke is done because he has tried to use the consume joke. I just want to point that out. Go ahead.
I was younger. But when I was watching the movie, by the way, if you guys want a review or something, fuck you. I'm not a fucking movie reviewer. Go watch the movie, okay? It's on Amazon Prime or whatever. I didn't get paid to say that, but that's where I saw it. And but the thing that really struck me as I was watching this was, wow, we really don't have any real left-leaning investigative journalism, do we?
Well, once again, there is a gray zone. You do have people like I'm trying to think of it. The guy that works for Bellingcat, as much as Bellingcat has basically just compromised itself as an organization. I mean, even though I don't care for him, he would be considered leftist. Michael Parenti's son. That's just off the top of my head. But yeah, to say that, oh, well, there's no lefty journalist. There's no lefty journalists that you don't like. I mean, there are no lefty journalists out there that you do like. I'll put it that way. There are lefty journalists that you don't like. But yeah, to say, oh, there's no lefty journalists out there doing investigative research. You mean when Max Blumenthal was down in Bolivia, talking about the election going on, everything else. But apparently, no. That wasn't journalism.
Not really. There's a reason for that, of course. When we do it, we get killed. The person who leaked the Panama Papers scandal, the trillions of dollars the wealthy are hoarding in offshore accounts illegally. That person fucking died. They were killed. What was it? A car bomb? Wait, actually, I'm going to look up. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm going to look that up. Panama.
How do you know that person was a leftist? That's the real question. Because once again, leftism has a very definite definition according to people like you. So no, go ahead.
Papers. Journalist killed. It was a car bomb, right? Malta car bomb kills Panama Papers journalist. Yeah. Yeah. Look, investigative journalism is spooky stuff. But the thing is, we need this, like, really, really badly, like domestically, just as an optical thing, There's no
Optics. Oh, I mean, I keep thinking this because it's like I remember so much in 2017 and 2018. The term optics kept coming up about the alt-right. This is the war between, the alt-right, the Wignats versus the America Firsters and all that, the Amnats and optics. We can't just go around saying, the Jews and all that. It's like it's just absolute bullshit to me. So when I hear this sort of, argument where it's just like, hold on, give me just a moment there. When I hear optics, I'm just like, that it immediately goes there. Like, oh, optics. We have to just talk about, this sort of thing. And let's talk about Baked Alaska. And we love our cops. And give me a fucking break, when I hear optics.
Sacha Baron Cohen is a left-leaning dude. That's pretty well known. And Borat is a pretty left-leaning movie series.
Borat is a pretty left-leaning movie series. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to intersplice this because I don't feel like editing this apart because I'm just too lazy. Let's go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and skip here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for everyone who stood up.
Sacha Baron Cohen talking to the ADL. Left-leaning movie. ADL is apparently left-wing. Or it's associated with the left wing, apparently. It's not a Zionist organization that shuts people down along with the Southern Poverty Law Center. No, it's actually ADL is actually a leftist organization.
Oh, unnecessary, but very flattering.
I'm gonna skip ahead a bit.
The first fake news journalist running through a conference of mortgage brokers while I was completely naked.
Okay, let's skip ahead a little more here.
Scientific consensus is dismissed. It showed the growing acceptance of Islamophobia.
Okay, hold on.
Me, as Borat from Kazakhstan, the first fake news journalist, running through a conference of mortgage brokers while I was completely naked. But when Borat was able to get an entire bar in Arizona to sing, "Throw the Jew down the well," it did.
That sounds like some Fed stuff. That sounds like some real Fed stuff. It's like, I would never be that, well, I would hope I'm not that stupid to say that out loud. Bruh, what are you even saying? It's like, it wouldn't be surprising to me that Sacha Baron Cohen was like a deep level, Mossad agent or something like that. I'm sorry to say it, but bruh, come on. Are you kidding me right now? Go ahead. So apparently it's left wing to go into a bar and to start singing songs. I'm not even going to repeat it. I'm not even going to.
Did reveal people's indifference to anti-Semitism.
You mean okay, so hold on. So if they went in there and so once again, this is the problem with journalism that people have said about for a long time, where you will criticize, rightfully so. I'm just going to say it. If you criticize people like, oh, damn it. I can't even think of her name now. The blonde bimbo. What is her damn name? I can't think of her name now. God damn it. But if you criticize people that are on, InfoWars, you criticize Lauren Southern, that's it. Lauren Southern. If you criticize Lauren Southern, rightfully so, for purposely editing things and, getting the audience upset purposefully, or the gun girl, I can't think, the gun and cap girl, then rightfully so, you should be mad as fuck at that and say, yeah, that is disingenuous and it is manipulation. He is doing the same thing. He is doing, he is performing manipulation. You think that if they went into a bar and you convince them to sing it and you say, oh, anti-Semitism, you created that. You created that anti-Semitism. I would say that, the thing is, a true anti-Semite, at least in my opinion, is never going to admit to it. It's the same thing like, it's maddening. It's maddening. Let's go ahead and continue on.
As Bruno, the gay fashion reporter from Austria, I started kissing a man in a cage fight in Arkansas, nearly starting a riot. It showed the violent potential.
This is the leftist. This is the leftist guy. Let's go ahead and continue on here.
Now, because it satirizes America, it criticizes the underlying, the racism, the homophobia, the anti-Semitism, all these deep-seated underlying cultural issues. And, you know, it's a delight for us to watch conservatives.
See, the thing is that you can do that in America because of, you know, free speech and everything else. The thing is that it's funny. I think I'll probably show it, but he talks about Rohingya, this and that. You don't see him go to Rohingya or go to Brunei or talk to about Islam because he knows he would be killed. He knows damn well he would be killed. That's why it's easy. You know, once again, he's talking, you know, taking advantage of the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to go to Arkansas and I'm going to do that. Or I'm going to go to this, you know, American county and talk about how evil it is. But I'm not going to go to China and talk about what they do because you would be killed or you would be put in jail. Rightfully so. I'm just going to say it. If this, you know, this is the, you know, this is once again, this is just somebody who is high, you know, the hypocrisy is just run so deep. Go ahead.
I imagine either don't like watching it or don't get the joke.
And apologies for my schizophrenia here when I cut back and forth, but it's important for him who he's going to praise Sacha Baron Cohen, and then I'm going to try to intercut that with what Sacha Baron Cohen at least says in front of the ADL.
I saw Matt Walsh on Twitter literally like a couple hours ago.
Nobody takes Matt Walsh seriously on Twitter. Nobody. He is a pincushion. He is a punching bag. Nobody takes him seriously.
Ago, I was doing errands.
Yeah.
I was on Twitter.
The Xinjiang rebels have connection to terrorists. Yep, they do. Yeah, Walsh is homo, but yeah,
because
but not homo Soviet. Yeah,
joke. Buddy, if you
Leo
watched
Frank,
the first Borat movie and your takeaway was that the character Borat was the thing being made fun of, then you have exactly the same media comprehension I would expect from a conservative. Thank you. Well done. You really held up to your the stereotype. But man, dude, that investigative journalism thing, I keep thinking about it. Like that movie team was able to get a fake interview with Rudy Giuliani.
Do you think what the fuck was the Daily Show? Can you answer me that? What the fuck is the Daily Show where they interview people from all across the country and get them to say dumb shit? You act like this is something fucking new. You absolute dipshit. And once again, I know, Daily Show was just for shitlibs. Yes, that is true. I was a shitlib at one time because I used to like Daily Show when I watched them dab on Republicans back in the George W. Bush era. But it's like, you know, to say that, investigative journalism. And it's like, once again, even he admits it's not even fucking journalism. Go ahead.
Got planted cameras, the whole 9 yards, and was able to pretty thoroughly embarrass the man in a way that is going to resonate up until the election. Like that stuff matters. And it reminds me in a way of Project Veritas, which is, if you look into the life of O'Keefe, the person who heads Project Veritas, this man has turned lying into an art form. Like literally every single fucking thing this guy has done has been tainted either with outright lies and deception, or at the very least a misrepresentative intent. The guy never acts in good faith, but fuck me, is he effective. Project Veritas has captured the attention of so many Americans because they're able to sensationalize, either nothing or kind of bad.
The thing that a lot of these lefties, what's going to hurt them is that they're going to realize that even without Fox News, even without the internet, without Project Veritas, they're going to find out that people are still going to be racist. It's going to be a shock, I know, but people are going to find out that people are still racist. They're still anti-Semitic. They're still anti-Muslim. They're still all those types of things. They still will feel that way without Fox News. Fox News simply reinforces it. Project Veritas simply reinforces it. These things don't disappear because you get rid of these sites. This is one of the fundamental problems with the left, at least in my opinion. where it's just like, oh, well, if we get rid of Fox News, but the thing is, you need Fox News so that you can make your shitty, horrible videos. You need PragerU so that you can make your shitty, horrible videos on whatever type of thing and say, oh, well, PragerU's dumb. What the fuck are you doing? Why is it that you respond? Is, I don't know. Maybe it's hypocritical to me. Why do you have to put up Vosh clips? Why can't you put up your own content? I'm trying to right now, and I have done. It's not that good, but at least I admit that. I'm just saying, come on, go ahead.
But really not as bad as it's being led to, as it's being represented.
Oh, good night, Autarky.
And millions of people listen to that. And what they do, I need to be perfectly clear, isn't investigative journalism, because Project Veritas isn't journalism. Journalists face consequences when they lie. So if you don't, you're not a journalist. Just to be clear, you're a disinfo agent, or a pundit, or a commentator, if you want to be really neutral about it. Project Veritas is not investigative journalism. In a way, Borat kind of is, to an extent. Because while the movie it's goofy, it's not like Borat's not journalism in a traditional sense.
And once again, this is okay. He's about to go somewhere that I think a lot of people. I have not studied gonzo journalism or Hunter S. Thompson, but I would say that this is an absolute retarded opinion he's about to say. Go ahead.
But the information that it presents in like a gonzo journalism kind of sense.
What? Once again, words, I guess, don't mean anything. You can just say anything is gonzo journalism because you want it to. I don't even know all of Hunter S. Thompson's work or watched Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, but it's like, are you kidding me right now? Go ahead.
Is in an authentic representation of the thin vignettes that they are able to make.
Okay, let's go ahead and intercut this with a little bit of what he says, of what Sacha Baron Cohen says.
Of homophobia. And when disguised as an ultra-woke developer, I proposed building a mosque in one rural community, prompting a resident to proudly admit, I am racist against Muslims. It showed the growing acceptance of Islamophobia.
ADL talking about Islamophobia. That is hilarious. ADL talking about Islamophobia. ADL, a organization that will talk about, I'm sure that they will, promote Israel all they want to, but they say that they're fighting Islamophobia. No. The thing is, what people don't talk about on a deeper level is they just say, oh, well, Islamophobia bad. Do they talk about Islam? Do they talk about Sharia? Do they talk about the difference between Sunni and Shia Islam? Do they talk about the actual beliefs of Islam and how Islam is actually practiced across the world? No. None of that is ever brought up when the word Islamophobia is ever brought up in a negative fashion. This is the limits, because ultimately these are commentators who just say, yeah, Islamophobia bad. Well, what do you think about Sunni Islam? What do you think about Shia Islam? What do you think about Wahhabism? And like I say, I don't have anything against Islam as a religion. I don't know that much about it. I don't know how it's even practiced realistically. But I'm trying to be at least somewhat understanding. These folks don't care about Islam. They simply want to use it as a talking point to further their own goals. They don't care about Islam. I just want to put it that way. They don't care.
That's why I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. Today, around the world, demagogues appeal to our worst instincts. Conspiracy theories, once confined to the fringe, are going mainstream. It's as if the age of reason, the era of evidential argument, is ending, and now knowledge is increasingly delegitimized and scientific consensus is dismissed. Democracy, which depends on shared truths, is in retreat, and autocracy, which depends on shared lies, is on the march. Hate crimes are surging, as are murderous attacks on religious and ethnic minorities. Now, what do all these dangerous trends have in common? I'm just a comedian and an actor. I'm not a scholar. But one thing is pretty clear to me. All this hate and violence is being facilitated by a handful of internet companies that amount to the greatest propaganda machine in history. The greatest propaganda machine in history. Let's think about it. Facebook, YouTube, and Google, Twitter, and others, they reach billions of people. The algorithms these platforms depend on deliberately amplify the type of content that keeps users engaged. Stories that appeal to our baser instincts and that trigger outrage and fear. It's why YouTube recommended videos by the conspiracist
The alt-right pipeline. This is just another version of the alt-right pipeline. Once again, let's go ahead and continue.
Alex Jones billions of times. It's why
Alex Jones is no longer on YouTube. He is no longer on Apple. I'm not going to sit here and defend Alex Jones. But the thing is, once again, even by the time of this video, is that people like I can't even think of it now. Anyway, Holt. Now, Aaron Holt. No. Jared Holt. That's it, yeah. Jared Holt helped to take down InfoWars and made them go off, and now they're on a whole separate platform. And yet, Alex Jones is still getting his money. Alex Jones is still getting his videos out because he's a fairly resourceful guy. That's not me, once again. That's not me defending him. But the thing is that censorship only builds the wanting. It's the same thing with Eminem. I'll put it this way. This is my way of it. When people want to copyright, or people want to be angry at Eminem, from back in the day at least, when he put out Marshall Mathers LP and he was saying things like "hate fags," the answer is yes. And people were, and groups like GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, were angry at him. They helped him sell 10 million albums, sell 10 million CDs. What rapper has ever gotten 10 million sales? Very, very few. So the thing is, that censorship makes people want to hear it more. It's the same thing if you put a book on censorship. It makes you want to look at it more. So okay, go ahead.
Why fake news outperforms real news, because studies show that lies spread faster than truth. And it's no surprise that the greatest propaganda machine in history has spread the oldest conspiracy theory in history, the lie that Jews are somehow dangerous.
I'm not even going to touch this. I'm not going to touch this with a 20-foot pole. I'm not even going to touch this. I'm just going to let you, the audience, believe what you will, because I'm not that stupid. Let's go ahead and cut back with what Vosh has to say.
Rudy Giuliani interview.
Yeah.
If you can, as a fake crew, get an interview with Rudy fucking Giuliani, what else could a sufficiently talented
that's true.
team do with enough money?
That's true, Manny.
Like, in what other ways can they reveal, inconvenient information or otherwise embarrass people who are making this country worse, the members of the Republican Party in large part?
Once again, it's the Republicans. Once again, the Republicans. Oh, yes.
I just think about it, and it's dangerous work. I'm not saying anyone can just get up and do this. You need a lot of startup capital, of course. You need a good legal team. Oh God, do you need a good legal team? And that costs a lot of money. You need institutional legitimacy, because even if you come out with the best expose in the world, it doesn't get taken seriously until it gets picked up by major news outlets. And while places like Fox News will pick up on anything that's presented to them, except for the Hunter Biden laptop story, which was so uncredible, even they passed up on it. But Fox News will pick up on Project Veritas. But, if you want, like, CNN to talk about something, you can't just be like a basement team. Like, there has to be some kind of legitimacy to it. What I'm essentially saying is, George Soros, you've done so much good funding. And
I think it's interesting that he never mentions people like Jared Holt or other folks who have doxed people and everything else. But of course, there are no true leftist journalists out there. Apparently, this guy has never, or you know what? Even I was gonna say pony. I know it's not that. What the hell is the anarchist thing called? What the fuck is it? What the hell is it called? It's gonna bug the hell out of me. I can't think of it now. But anyway, the anarchist site that puts up these videos and talks about, it's just the notion is wrong. I'll just put it that way. It's wrong. It's just that the leftists that put out content or that, put out these exposés, it's stuff that you don't agree with. Like I say, people like, Max Blumenthal or this and that. I'm not going to sit here and carry water for Max Blumenthal to say that everything they put out is brilliant. No. But what I will say is that, yeah, they do have some legitimacy because, Max Blumenthal's dad worked for the Clinton administration. So, of course, he's going to have some credibility. It's just, go ahead.
Tifa, could you divert some of these funds, throw them towards...
I'm so sick of the Soros joke. I really am. I'm sick of it because, like, a lot of the far-right folks don't even talk about Soros like that. The thing is, go ahead.
A crack team of investigative left-leaning journalists who use their time and their money and their equipment and their expertise to find out incriminating information about the Republican Party.
COINTELPRO. Yeah, he really is.
In a way that is media digestible.
Yeah, libs are closer to leftism. Yeah.
And that's the thing the Borat and Project Veritas people understand. Nobody, it sucks, but nobody gives a fuck about like real crime, You don't even have
That's
to.
True.
The crimes of the Trump administration aren't like conspiracy. Like you can just look at them. They're obvious. President Trump still manages his businesses. He's spent tens of millions of dollars paying off fines with regards to misappropriation of his resources. He's a blatant nepotism. The Ukraine shit. Like this isn't conspiracy. It's obvious. Anyone can see it. People are desensitized to this. People are desensitized to the endless march of news saying this, that, this is bad, they did this.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to read text.
Yeah,
People
that's true.
want memes. People want clippable moments.
Of course.
Project Veritas doesn't leak 50-page documents from reputable covert intelligence operative.
That's why we always laugh when we see the Antifa folks or, the folks that get beat up. In the streets. It's that is the millennials and the Zoomers form of circus and peanuts. We simply laugh because we know that none of these folks are legitimate. You can laugh at the Proud Boys and say, look at that guy get his ass whooped. It's hilarious because you don't want to be involved with it. It shows that nobody wants to come towards these riots at all. Is it too loud? Hello? All right. Apologies. I had to flea comb a dog right quick. Even though it's like 50-something degrees outside, but there were a couple on them. Anyway.
They drop fucking YouTube videos. Well-edited YouTube videos with spooky music. That's what the people want, okay? It sucks. That's the state our country's in. I want to win. Sorry. Borat knows this. That Rudy Giuliani shit has captured the national attention. All it took was one hidden camera, and I imagine quite a...
See, the funny thing, though, is that Rudy Giuliani, and that once again, you may say, oh, well, Fox News didn't pick it up, but a lot of the real QAnon MAGA-Pete types really agree with what is on that laptop. The reason I say that is because they say that Rudy Giuliani was involved in this big sexcapade type of thing. So they believe that he's part of the deep state. So what does it matter if the MAGA-Peds, if the real legit full-on MAGA-Peds believe that, Rudy Giuliani is part of it, then what purpose does it serve? You see what I'm saying? Go ahead.
a bit of time preparation and balls.
What's going on, Union Army Ball?
But they got what they needed. And I want more.
Thought Slime. Yeah. I want more. Golly. Hold on. I'll go back for a minute. Yeah. Thought Slime joined Lefty Pole and got triggered by Pierre Trudank, and then Batco, Zazizi and Danov backed him to make up to make content. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of cringe, isn't it? Yeah. Let me go back here a minute. Okay.
Page documents from reputable covert intelligence operatives. They drop fucking YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Well-edited YouTube videos with spooky music. That's what the people want, okay? It sucks. That's the state our country's in. I want to win. Sorry. Borat.
You want to win? I mean, the thing is, there are people out there that produce anti-Trump videos that are saying that fascism is coming, that have the scary music and that have these videos too. It's just that nobody watches them because they're trash and they're boring.
Knows this. That Rudy Giuliani shit has captured the national attention. All it took was one hidden camera.
I have never heard this Rudy Giuliani shit, to be frank with you. But then again, I stick to my own little world. I stick to my own little caves, so to speak, in terms of news. So I don't really give a shit. But yeah, oh my gosh, Rudy Giuliani's hand was in his pocket. I mean, was in his pants. Oh my gosh, was he jerking himself off or something? Oh, or Rudy Giuliani, butt dialed somebody. So what? Rudy Giuliani is a sad, lonely old man. We don't care. Nobody cares about Rudy Giuliani. Lee.
And I imagine quite a bit of time preparation and balls.
Except the Trump communist ads. That's true, yeah.
They got what they needed. And I want more.
Troll the amazing atheist. Oh, deep lore,
election's coming up. I don't think anything that could be done now is going to meaningfully change the likelihood of any given results. I mean, I think that right now we're pretty much just hurtling towards the conclusion that's already been determined. It's just a matter of nobody knows what that conclusion is, but I feel like we've already arrived at it, more or less, unless some really big bomb drops, But moving into the future, it should be the goal of every left-leaning person, socialist or left-leaning liberal. God.
Left-leaning liberal. Here we go. Once again, he's trying to reach out to the Soak Dems and all that business, thinking that that's going to make a difference.
To make a mockery of fascism, of racism, of homophobia, of transphobia.
It's funny because the thing is that he has argued with his transgender audience. He'll use the whole Italians are actually black meme, all this sort of thing. But then he suddenly thinks somehow, well, now I'm trying to be more legitimate. We're gonna make fun of racism. It's just like, the thing is that the only way that Borat can get legitimacy is by joking with people and bringing people in so that they sing these songs. They probably didn't even know what anti-Semitism was. They barely knew what a Jew was. And until this guy said it, that's not comedy. That's called entrapment. Go ahead.
Phobia of the Republican Party and everybody with an R next to their name.
Oh boy. With him once again, he plays this double-sided, so he plays this double-edged idea. And don't worry, I'm not going to make y'all watch this. This is something for later. Don't worry. Let me pause it right quick here. I'm not going to make y'all watch that. That is too much cringe. Okay.
And the best way to do that is not with comprehensive briefs, is not with extensive intel on misappropriation of funds. It's on getting these stupid, horny motherfuckers to embarrass themselves.
The thing is, you act like this is something new, Vosh. Like this should be our new goal. They've been doing this. They did this with Alternative für Deutschland. They did this with the AfD party, where they caught, I think it was in Austria. Maybe I'm mistaken. It was either Germany or it was Austria, where they busted some guy of a far-right party who was accused of having sex with a hooker or something like. I can't remember all the details of it, but it's like, you act like you're the first motherfucker to come up with this. This shit has been happening. And it's like when people see Marion Barry say, "Bitch, give me that crack pipe," on video. I mean, as grainy as shit as it was, people are like, "Oh yeah, Marion Barry's one of us because he's a crackhead." Nobody gave a shit.
There's one other thing I saw. I just saw this on my feed a little while ago. I didn't know about this, but this investigative journalism work, it can really pay dividends, sometimes in ways you don't really want them to. This is a tweet from Shuanhead. Hello. But it's also an image. Two of them, actually. Sacha Baron Cohen said he turned over disturbing Who is America footage to the FBI. The Who is America show, remember, that was the one where he dressed up as like a former Israeli military combat expert. And they got that Republican fella to like scream the N-word while hobbling around with his pants down. Yeah, it was great. That was phenomenal, by the way. Anyway, Cohen went on to explain how the concierge offered to connect him with a lawyer to silence the boy, but that wasn't the end of it. His character next inquired if the concierge could fetch him a date with a boy lower than bar mitzvah, but older than 8. And the concierge reportedly replied, "Yeah, I can put you in touch with somebody who can get you some boys like that." The stunt was considered too dark and wrong for even This Is America, and Cohen's team subsequently sent their footage to the...
Who knows if Cohen actually took the offer, though? That's the real question. Why does Cohen need to take that offer? If he's already in the system, why does he need to be offered that? You see what I'm saying? Why would he take this obvious bait? I mean, once again, maybe this is my paranoid mind, but it's like when you hear this type of stuff, and of course, I mean, once again, to say that lower than bar mitzvah, but older than 8. When I hear that, I don't want to get into it. I'm not going to go there. Don't worry. I'm not going to, because I'm not that stupid. I'm not going to Fed post that hard, but it's like, come on, man. Are you kidding me?
The FBI to investigate.
He immediately sent this information to the FBI.
According to Cohen, the Bureau evidently decided not to pursue the matter, though the actor noted this concierge had said that he'd worked for politicians and various billionaires. You don't need to be a QAnoner or a Pizzagator to think that the wealthy people in our country operate pedophile rings. That's been an open secret in Hollywood for...
Yeah, we've seen the movie Salo. So yeah, we understand that rich people do some pretty screwed up things. Yeah, we have seen the movie Salo, or at least seen images of it. Yeah, we know how screwed up things are. Reminder that Ian Kaczynski, apparently that's Vosh's real name. Don't do anything with that. But apparently his dad worked in Hollywood. Surprise, surprise. His dad worked in Hollywood, but apparently his dad was one of the more honorable people who worked in Hollywood. What do you know, huh?
For a very long time. It has nothing to do with the Democrats or even the Republicans. It has nothing to do with...
Once again, the idea, that he says, well, not all Republicans are racist and evil. But then, of course, he's like, well, I think you should shame all Republicans. It's like, well, choose a side. Do you mean that they're all bad? Or that, this is always the issue that you need to bring up with these folks. You need to pry them. You need to really get that information out and decide what they really are. people like Voss are trying to remain centrist and say, well, not all Republicans are bad. But then he'll go on and say, well, you need to shame these Republicans. And which is it?
Hetero or homosexuality, Christianity or Satanism. Rich people are just sick fucks, and they can get away with shit because they have a lot of money and they have a lot of connections. And I would imagine that the feds are, hesitant to investigate things like that for their own safety. They get told from on high to not look too far into it. I'm serious, You hear about these pedo ring busts from the feds, and they'll bend time and space to, oh, this guy sent an SMS message at 7:42 p.m. We tracked it back to a cell in Malta, and we geo-satellite located their position to record. They'll do anything to get these busts, but again, a lot of the pedo shit in Hollywood and in Washington is kind of an open secret. The Epstein stuff is kind of an open secret for a really long time. Not much work being done there.
You think that would change under socialism? I don't know. I mean, in your form of socialism, probably not. But yeah, let's go ahead and keep moving forward.
If the institutions in our country can't crack open these cases, either because they don't want to or because there are people higher up than them who are encouraging them not to, then investigative journalism, good investigative journalism, yeah, the way through that. Also dangerous, by the way. Sacha Baron Conan's probably
there we go.
Not going to get fucking car bombed, but investigative journalism is a desperately dangerous profession, and I have a lot of respect for the people who do it.
So in other words, if you're a journalist and Voss agrees with you, please, go out there and do some stuff so that he can get more memes, so that he can try to influence people and he can take all the credit for the work that you did. That's basically what he's saying. Go ahead.
It's a shame that it's a dead art, especially on our side.
It isn't a dead art. It's just that there are people that you don't like. I'm going to continue to repeat this. Once again, you think that, the gray zone does pretty much exactly what you say. But the thing is, they're smart about it, and they actually bring in experts that actually talk about this stuff. But of course, people like you don't want to talk about it because, of course, they talk good about China. And because of that, you don't like them for that reason. Because you're full of shit, and you're also just a shill. But that's my view.
Side of the fence. So hopefully we can pick that back up. Anyway, yeah, it was the Borat 2 fun movie. You should watch it, okay? It's fun. It's fun. Funny man, Borat. My wife it's got the funny. You can see pubes because
I cannot wait. Like I say, I cannot wait if a person like Biden does get elected. And the thing is, like I say, with the 3D chess, like I was talking about with the Trump video, somehow he thinks that the left is going to be ready in the United States. The left, the United States, where the left is shouting out in the streets, the BLM protests. They're saying out in the streets, this and that. They are, not stopping these fires and anything else. Hold on. The left in the United States that has, that have continued to protest in front of the federal courthouse in Portland, and very little has changed. And yet, he thinks that left is going to be able to create change because somehow bourgeois democracy is going to be easier to fight than Trump's fascism. I don't believe that. I don't believe a word of it. But apparently he thinks that this 3D chess move is going to work. And it's going to be interesting to see the damage control when this ultimately blows up in his face.
The clothing he wears the puke.
Yeah, neocons.
Go watch.
Son says Trotsky. Yeah, neocons are Trotskyites. Yeah. Absolute ridiculousness. Absolute lies. Go ahead.
As one headline put it, just think what Goebbels could have done with Facebook. On the internet, everything can appear equally legitimate. Breitbart resembles the BBC. The fictitious protocols of the Elders of Zion look as valid as an ADL report. and the rantings of a lunatic seem as credible as the findings of a Nobel Prize winner. We have lost, it seems, a shared sense of basic facts.
I believe Trump has won a Nobel Prize. So, yeah, I think you need to be careful about that, sir, about the legitimacy of the Nobel Prize.
Upon which democracy depends. When I, as the wannabe gangster Ali...
And also, it's interesting, of course, that, you want to talk about Goebbels. Hitler was in Time magazine twice. Adolf Hitler was in Time magazine twice. That tells you about their legitimacy. So let's be careful about throwing around, what's legitimate and what's not in terms of journalism.
asked the astronaut Buzz Aldrin, what was it like to walk on the sun? The joke worked because we, the audience, shared the same facts. If you believe the moon landing was a hoax, the joke doesn't work. When Borat got that bar and
The thing is, though, is that a lot of that came from the filmmaker, Clockwork. What is his name? I'm sorry. Once again, my mind is gone. Clockwork Orange. That's it. Yeah, Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick was allegedly the one that landed Trump deported less than Obama because he drew more scrutiny with his bombastic approach. Yep, that's true. That is true, Skeptical Manus. That is very true, sir. Yeah, I don't know why I was recommending it, but because one specific protest may not be working doesn't mean the left won't make progress, right? Okay, well, I mean, like I say, we shall see, won't we? Maybe you can prove me wrong, Iron Flame. That's fine. You can go ahead and prove me wrong. I don't claim to be an all-knowing being, but so far, it has not been promising. And I'll just see what happens. Yeah, so was Stalin Man of the Year. Oh, really? Huh, interesting. Let's go ahead and continue on, though. Okay.
Arizona to agree that Jews control everybody's money and they never give it back. The joke worked because the audience shared the fact that the depiction of Jews as miserly is a conspiracy theory originating in the Middle Ages.
It may have originated in the Middle Ages, but the thing is that what you can talk about, of course, is what goes on in New York. You're seeing right now, ironically, I would assume, the anti-Semitism that is increasing in New York City because of all the protests going on from the Hasidic community. Because the governor of New York, Governor Cuomo, is limiting religious gatherings and, bar mitzvahs and everything else. And the Hasidic community is lighting fires and everything else to say, we don't approve of this. And they have Trump flags. Of course, ADL is not going to talk about that. But the thing is, when you want to talk about the rising tide of anti-Semitism, there are multiple different versions. People are saying, of course, that Mayor de Blasio as well as Governor Cuomo are promoting anti-Semitism right now. Now, I'm not going to say that they are because I don't believe that they are. But the thing is that people are not, that you're not going to criticize him because of that. So it's all about context, folks.
When, thanks to social media, conspiracies take hold, it is easy.
Okay, hold on. The left has continuously made progress. Like the reason it hasn't been as much right now is because Trump is in office, but it still makes progress. And in history, they repeatedly make progress. Would you say? Okay, let me put it this way to you, Iron Flame. Would you say that the left gets co-opted, such as with Trotskyism? Because we talked a little bit about that earlier. And Trotskyism, of course, got co-opted by the right, and it became neoconservatism, or the idea of libertarianism, which, of course, originated with Proudhon and other anarchists, got co-opted by, people like Murray Rothbard. So you can say, yes, they make progress, but ultimately that progress gets co-opted not only by the right, but also by liberals. People will say, of course, that MLK was a liberal hero. You need to think about that a little bit. You know, so once again, you know, you need to think about these things.
Easier for hate groups to recruit, easier for foreign intelligence agencies to interfere in our elections, and easier for a country like Myanmar to commit genocide against the Rohingya.
Myanmar. You're never going to see him go to Myanmar, are you? You're never going to see him be a, you know, just a claim to be a BBC journalist and talk to the Buddhists in Myanmar or in Burma, are you? You're not going to do that. You would rather go for the easier target and go for the United States and bait those admittedly dumb, mostly white rednecks. You would rather do that than go to Myanmar or actually do any real sort of journalism. You just want to make a funny little thing and make fun of Americans because everyone hates America. I get it. Everyone hates America's the burgers and all that. Look, fine. I accept it at this point, but it's like, if you can't move beyond that, then you're simply a clown. You cannot move on. You are simply a child that would rather just make fun of America and just say, well, oh, America's funny. The Americans are dumb. Oh, they're racist. That's easy to say. It's an easy joke.
Now, it's actually quite shocking how easy it is to turn conspiracy thinking into violence. In my last show, Who is America, I found an educated, normal guy who had held down a good job, but who, on social media, repeated many of the conspiracy theories that President Trump, using Twitter, has spread more than 1,700 times to his 67 million Twitter followers. The president even tweeted that he was considering designating Antifa, who are anti-fascists who march against the far right, as a terror organization. So, disguised as an Israeli anti-terrorism expert, Colonel Eran Morad.
Once again, he says, of course, that declaring Antifa a terrorist organization. And of course, it's like, well, how can you do that? Why are you so concerned about that? That, you know, the thing is, once again, I don't think that Antifa fully agrees with you, though, either, sir. You know, supposedly Antifa is a far left group. So they wouldn't really agree with someone like you who makes millions of dollars. So the thing is, it kind of proves the point that Antifa is nothing more than a co-opt. But that's just me. Let's go ahead and continue. America. Yeah. Clapping for a man named Sasha is a sin.
Yeah. I told my interviewee that at the Women's March in San Francisco, Antifa were plotting to put hormones into babies' diapers in order to make them transgender. And this man believed it. I instructed him to plant small devices on 3 innocent people at the march and explained that when he pushed a button, he'd trigger an explosion that would kill them all.
This is literally a Fed honeypot. This is literally what the feds do to bring in dissident folks who are just who want change so bad that they end up getting hooked into these things. And it turns out that the leaders of these groups are federal informants. This is literally describing a Fed honeypot. Let's continue.
They weren't real explosives, of course, but he thought they were. I wanted to see, would he actually do it? The answer was yes. He pushed the button and thought he had actually killed 3 human beings. Voltaire was right when he said, those who can make you...
This is entrapment. This is absolutely, what he is describing right now is entrapment. Entrapment, honeypot, whatever you want to say. This is disgusting. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You can say that the people that he instructed are evil, but the thing is that the person who, you know, pushed and enticed that person, the person who instigated it, to me, are much worse. But that's just me.
Believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities.
Is there comments on this ADL video?
Social media.
Let's see. Oh, no. No, there are not. No comments on the ADL video. Not surprising. Anyone surprised by that? No.
Let's authoritarians push absurdities to billions of people. Now, in their defense, these social media companies have taken some steps to reduce hate and conspiracies on their platforms, but these steps have been mainly superficial. And I'm talking about this today because I believe that our pluralistic democracies are on a precipice, and that the next 12 months and the role of social media could be determinant. Now, British voters will go to the polls while online conspiracists promote the despicable theory of the Great Replacement, that white Christians are being deliberately replaced by Muslim immigrants. Americans will vote for president while trolls and bots perpetuate the disgusting lie of a Hispanic invasion. And after years of YouTube videos calling climate change a hoax, the United States is on track a year from now to formally withdraw from the Paris Accords. A sewer of bigotry and vile conspiracy theories that threaten our democracy and to some degree our planet. This can't possibly be what the creators of the internet had in mind. I believe that it's time for a fundamental rethink of social media and how it spreads hate, conspiracies, and lies.
What does he suggest? What do you suggest, Sacha Baron Cohen, a comedian who makes millions? Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and see. And like I say, I know it's Google, so I know. Put it with a grain of salt. Sacha Baron Cohen, worth. Yep, net worth. Here we go. How much is he worth? $160 million or 122 million pounds. That's quite a bit, isn't it? Yep. Acceleration team. Yeah.
Now, last month, however, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook delivered a major speech that, not surprisingly, warned against new laws and regulations on companies like his. Well, some of these arguments are simply, pardon my French, bullshit. Let's count the ways. First, Zuckerberg tried to portray this whole issue as choices around free expression.
The thing is, would he be saying this if ads for his new movie, if his new Borat movie, if they were censored on Facebook, he would be the first one to start crying foul? Because I imagine that Facebook, Twitter, YouTube are all used as platforms for promoting his film as advertising and as promotion. So this hypocrisy is astounding. How can this guy simultaneously be like, well, we need to censor these folks, and then of course, if it was his stuff that was censored, he would be the first one to cry about it. You know, this is what crying wolf is to me. But yeah, and once again, the thing is that once again, that shooter in Pittsburgh, you know, the guy who said, "Screw your optics, I'm going in," he was on Gab. And of course, like I say, you can get mad at Turba or whatever his name is. But yeah, to say that, of course, oh, well, it's all up to these 6 major companies. You know, don't tell them about Telegram. Don't tell them about Gab or anything else. Like I say, I'm not even promoting censorship for them. But it's like this issue of censorship is going to be like the I'm trying to. Sorry, my mind is gone. It's going to be like the witch trials, where censorship reaches the point, and then people are going to be like, "Oh, you went too far." So while I'm going to be a centrist in this view too. When we talk about censorship, I'm not going to be some free right at some free speech advocate. I'm not going to be that, but I'm also not going to be a complete person of censorship. I'm just going to say is that eventually it's going to go too far, and people are going to be like, you can't censor that. You can't be censoring my stuff, bro. So when, for example, when a Disney movie comes out that shows boobies, and because they have boobies on there, then Facebook censors it, then of course they're going to be like, hey, Facebook, Maybe we'll change the ad, but you don't need to be, you can't be censoring Disney, sir. You can't be doing that. You see? There's always, that's always the issue of censorship. And also, censorship creates a want. Censorship creates a need. Like I said, with Eminem, creates that want, creates that need. Same thing when they made a song about, I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy. Or I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy. It created controversy, didn't it? And it made people want to see it. That's why people have fake controversies all the time, so that they can get people to watch their movies or listen to their crappy album or whatever the case may be.
That is ludicrous. This is not about limiting anyone's free speech. This is about giving people, including some of the most reprehensible people on earth, the biggest platform in history to reach a third of the planet. Freedom of speech is not freedom of reach. Sadly, there will always be racists, misogynists, anti-Semites, and child abusers. But I think we can all agree that we should not be giving bigots and pedophiles a free platform to amplify their views and target their victims. Second, Mark Zuckerberg claimed that new limits on what's posted on social media would be to pull back on free expression. This is utter nonsense. The First Amendment says that, and I quote, Congress shall make no law abridging freedom of speech. However, this does not apply to private businesses like Facebook. We're not asking these companies to determine the boundaries of free speech across society. We just want them.
They are, though. But yeah, go ahead.
To be responsible on their platforms. Now, if a neo-Nazi...
There is a recent stir on Twitter, at least, where, my account got taken down. I mean, big deal. I mean, who cares? I got taken down a lot of times. But the thing is, that picture of Hunter Biden sleeping with a crack pipe in his mouth, anybody that posted that picture was taken down off Twitter because nobody wanted to see it. So it's interesting how, and of course, the issue of Hunter Biden, period, of course, is something that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to touch it. It's always interesting that, of how that kind of works. But yeah, let's continue.
He comes goose-stepping into a restaurant and starts threatening other customers and saying he wants to kill Jews. Would the owner of the restaurant, a private business, be required to serve him an elegant 8-course meal? Of course not. The restaurant owner has every legal right, and indeed, I would argue, a moral obligation to kick that Nazi out. And so do these internet companies.
They do that all the time. Once again, they do that all the time. They have plenty of bots and plenty of individual people who search out accounts and create honeypot accounts so that they can take down, more racist Twitter user. They do that all the time. You act like this is something new. This isn't, once again, kind of like with Vosh. This is nothing new. This happens all the time. Both, Twitter does that, but also, imagine it's on Facebook and YouTube as well. You act like this is new. This is nothing new.
Now, third, Mark Zuckerberg seemed to equate regulation of companies like his to the actions of the most repressive societies. Incredible. This from one of the 6 people who decide what information so much of the world sees.
Yep, but Borat is a leftist movie. I just want to remind people, according to Vosh, Borat is a leftist movie. I'm going to go ahead and let y'all listen to this just for a moment. I'll be right back.
Zuckerberg at Facebook,
in or out with you guys.
Sundar Pichai at Google, at its parent company, Alphabet, Larry Page and Sergey Brin's ex-sister-in-law, Susan Wojcicki at YouTube, and Jack Dorsey at Twitter. The Silicon Six. All billionaires, all Americans who care more about boosting their share price than about protecting democracy.
Yeah, and that's just like you worried about how many people are going to view your view Borat 2 on Amazon Prime. So don't give me that argument of, they're only worried. I'm not going to listen to a hypocrite who's part of the same system criticize Facebook. I'm not going to sit here and praise Mark Zuckerberg, but I'm not going to sit here and listen to a hypocrite like you, who probably has an executive producer credit on that movie, and who's going to preach to me about they're only worried about the bottom line. So are you. Don't give me that nonsense.
This is ideological imperialism. 6 unelected individuals in Silicon Valley imposing their vision on the rest of the world.
Press F for Glasnow. Yeah.
Unaccountable to any government and acting like they're above the reach of law. It's like we're living in the Roman Empire and Mark Zuckerberg is Caesar. At least that would explain his haircut. Now, here's an idea. Instead of letting the Silicon Six decide the fate of the world, let our elected representatives, voted for by the people of every democracy in the world.
What is this? What the hell is this crap? You're going to have the elected people who are so mad about Amy Coney Barrett? Those folks who are so mad at her, and I think that she actually got, she was actually appointed overwhelmingly, but who cares about that really? But it's like, you're going to have those idiots decide what real censorship is. I mean, what is this? This goes back to the days of the comic book, about comic books being censored and whatnot, and where they had to call them Pulp Fiction or something like that. Remember that with Estes Kefauver back in the 1950s? This is literally where you are bringing censorship back to the 1950s now. Are you proud of yourself? And once again, the minute that censorship affects you, you are going to be mad as hell. So I don't want to hear a word about it, hypocrite. Oh.
Have at least some say. Fourth, Zuckerberg speaks of welcoming a diversity of ideas. And last year he gave us an example. He said that he found posts denying the Holocaust deeply offensive, but he didn't think Facebook should take them down because I think there are things that different people get wrong. At this very moment, there are still Holocaust deniers on Facebook, and Google still takes you to the most repulsive Holocaust denial sites with a simple click.
No, that's not true. That is not true at all. I'm not going to do it on Google because I'm not that stupid. But once again, I know that's not true. That is an absolute lie.
One of the heads of Google, in fact, told me that these sites just show both sides of the issue.
This is the same argument that people brought against Trump, where there were good people on both sides when talking about Charlottesville. Like I say, I'm not going to get too deep into Charlottesville, but the thing is, it's amazing to me that the same arguments are used, that we don't want to hear both sides, that we have to agree, there has to be agreeable truths, just like he said, that democracy is based on objective truths. Remember that. But about approved objective truths.
This is madness. To quote Edward R. Murrow, one cannot accept that there are on every story two equal and logical sides to an argument. We have, unfortunately, millions of pieces of evidence for the Holocaust. It is an historical fact. And denying it is not some random opinion. Those who deny the Holocaust aim to encourage another one.
It is used to defend the state of Israel, though. That's the whole idea, is that if you criticize Israel, you bring back the Holocaust. And when we see the huge amount, I mean, maybe that guy, the cheek guy, is going to come back in here and start arguing with me about Zionism again. But the thing is that it is used as a defense for Israel to do all sorts of evil things. To shoot innocent children, to shoot Americans who are there defending Palestinians. That's been done as well. There are cases back in the 1990s, and I know, apologies for going that far back, but there are other issues, of Americans being killed because of it. They're having these, they have this, they're mad at kites, K-I-T-E-S. I want to be careful. But the thing is that he is bringing things back to the 1950s, and he's no better than the conservatives he tries to dab on in his videos, in his movies. So his hypocrisy is it's so rich, to say the least.
Still, Zuckerberg says that people should decide what is credible, not tech companies. But at a time when 2/3 of millennials say that they haven't even heard of Auschwitz, how are they supposed to know what's credible?
That's the educational system. That's the educational system's lookout. And also the thing is that when you say 2/3 of millennials, because they would probably rather watch, why would they want to know about Auschwitz? Let me put it to you that way. It's like if I was an average person that wasn't destroyed by the internet, why would I want to know about Auschwitz? Why? Why would I want to know about Sobibor? Why would I want to know about Chemnitz? Why would I want, Chemnitz? Why would I want to know about any of those things? Why would I want to? Unless they teach me it in school and they show me, Schindler's List, then what incentive do I have to look at it? I'm trying to be realistic here. I'm trying to be very careful. But still, I'm not... Return to 1975, yeah.
How are they supposed to know that the lie is a lie? There is such a thing as objective truth. Facts do exist. And if these internet companies really want to make a difference, they should hire enough monitors to actually monitor.
Once again, this is the same thing that goes on in China. Once again, they have Weibo where nobody gets in. Now, of course, like I say, there are plenty of folks who, realistically, the Great Firewall, as it's said in China, has been pierced, and you can get whatever you want to, really, as long as you know the ins and outs of it. If you know the right people, you can get around it. But the thing is that, China has thousands of people who are observing this and monitoring it. The thing is that, once again, it's the battle that occurred like during World War II, where you have a better mousetrap, the mouse learns how to move around it. So when the Americans wanted to get around the radar, they cut they had that chaff, the strips, the metal strips that they tossed out the back of the aircraft to mess up the radar of the Germans when they were night bombing. So what? Excuse me. Excuse me. So what did the Germans do? Well, then they had night fighters. And then, it went back and forth, right? It's the same thing with it's the same thing with the Vietnam War. With the F-117 or the F-4 Phantom, excuse me. And it depends on how low they were, they had to fly below radar, right? So instead, so that they could avoid the SA-2s, the surface-to-air missiles that had been given to them by the Soviet Union. So they, instead they had, so it was all sorts of a balancing sort of act. This is nothing new. And instead, people, what do people do? I'm not going to reveal the tricks to the folks on Twitter. I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to be a snitch. But the thing is, though, is that you can easily pick these things out, and I'll put it that way. Let's go ahead and continue.
Work closely with groups like the ADL and the NAACP.
Once again, you have to work with the ADL. Once again, you need the middleman, don't you? We need to be relevant. That's the whole thing. They need to be relevant. Same thing with the SPLC. They need to be relevant. The racism is going to return. America is going to turn into fascism. Nazi Germany is coming to America. They have to prove their legitimacy. They have to prove that they're not, that they're deserving of money. That's the whole thing, is that, the ADL, the SPLC, these are groups that require a lot of money. And of course, they get support from everywhere, but it's like they require Northern liberals, mostly, to give them money because they worry about the South rising again, this and that. Hate speech is rising all across the world. Of course, the realistic question to ask is, well, the SPLC has been around how long? Why isn't it that you weren't able to fight fascism before? Why is it that it keeps rising if you have all this information? But of course, you would then, then of course you'd say, well, we don't have enough money. If you gave us more money, then we would, it's just a classic grifting tip. It's a classic pyramid scheme, isn't it? But yeah, let's go ahead and continue forward.
Insist on facts and purge these lies and conspiracies from their platforms. Fifth, when discussing the difficulty of removing content, Mark Zuckerberg asked, where do you draw the line? Yes, drawing the line can be difficult. But here's what he's really saying. Removing more of these lies and conspiracies is just too expensive. These are the richest companies in the world, and they have the best engineers in the world.
That means nothing. Once again, what I've been learning from strategic management a little bit is that you can either be a cost leadership or you can be a differentiation strategy. Do they want to spend that much money without something to make money? Is it profitable to be searching for these folks? No. It's profitable for the ADL because that's their job. That is the market that they've created for themselves. Same thing with the SPLC. They have created this market to say that we are fighting racism. So we need your money so that we can send these stories out and so that we can, send these reports out to you. Ignore, of course, the fact that the SPLC is steeped in their own racism. Same thing with the ADL. They are steeped in their own racism. And they are steeped in their own misogyny and everything else that they claim to be fighting against. But that's the hypocrisy of the world.
They could fix these problems if they wanted to. Twitter could deploy an algorithm to remove more white supremacist hate speech, but they have reportedly haven't because it would eject some very prominent politicians from their platform. Maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing.
Wait a minute. You said that the elected persons are the ones that should be doing that, but then you say, of course, that a lot of the elective representatives would be kicked off too. And I've heard this already. Once again, this is not, I heard this at the time back in November of 2019, but it's like, go ahead. I would love to hear what he thinks about when Ilhan Omar said all about the Benjamins, baby. And of course, like I say, ultimately Ilhan Omar towed the line and learned not to play that game. And now she's on Twitch with AOC playing Among Us. Among Us, of course, is considered, they wrote an article which said that it was a fascist game. But of course, apparently, it's not that fascist of a game when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Hassan Piker, H-Bomber Guy, and Pokemon, and all those others are playing Among Us on Twitch. It's perfectly okay because, hey, they're reaching out to the people. People like AOC are getting 300,000 people watching on Twitch. Washington Post is doing stories on this. This is the type of tripe that is coming out. I'm just saying this I'm just ranting at this point, but it's like, it's important to talk about.
The truth is, these companies won't fundamentally change because their entire business model relies on generating more engagement, and nothing generates more engagement than lies, fear, and outrage.
I would say the same thing is required for the company of the business that you are in front of right now, the ADL. It requires a lot of, misinformation. It requires a lot of fear mongering that may or may not necessarily be true. So there's something to be said for that. Go ahead.
So it's time to finally call these companies what they really are, the largest publishers in history. So here's an idea for them. Abide by basic standards and practices, just like newspapers, magazines, and TV news do every day. We have standards and practices in television and the movies. There are certain things we cannot say or do.
Standards and practice. Once again, is this the 1930s? Standards and practices. There's plenty of nudity, plenty of dropping the F word on in movies all the time. Once again, I don't remember standards and practices when the movie Scarface came out. Well, actually, Scarface was brought down considerably. I'm talking about the 1983 one. Or talking about the movie like Natural Born Killers, or, I don't know, Jason, or whatever the case may be, with all the violence that occurred in that, and the, chopping off of heads and everything else. But so when you're talking about standards and practices, once again, that's something from the 1930s, sir. It does not exist in the same way.
In England, I was told that Ali G could not curse when he appeared before 9 p.m. Here in the US...
Yeah, the watershed. Yeah, that's known as the watershed. In the United Kingdom, it's known as the watershed, sir. You cannot say that, mate.
Yes, the Motion Picture Association of America regulates and rates what we see. I've had scenes in my movies cut or reduced to abide by those standards. Now, if there are standards and practices for what...
Notice that he stops right there. So apparently censorship is okay when, it affects these other folks, but it's like, well, hey, we have to endure censorship. So do you, ordinary person.
What cinemas and television channels can show, then surely companies that publish material to billions of people should have to abide basic standards and practices too. Take the issue of political ads, on which Facebook have been resolute. Fortunately, Twitter finally banned them. And Google, today I read, is making changes too. But if you pay them, Facebook will run any political ad you want, even if it's a lie. And they'll even help you micro-target those lies to their users for maximum effect. Under this twisted logic, if Facebook were around in the 1930s, it would have allowed Hitler to post 30-second ads on his solution to the Jewish problem.
Hitler didn't talk about the Jews in the 1930s, not in the same way. The thing is, what is clever about it, of course, is that people don't really talk about how Hitler came into power. And I'm not an expert, but there was a huge structure that went behind it. And I think Caleb Maupin is correct when he talks about the economic minister, who was the pretty much the actual was actually the prime minister of Nazi Germany. I cannot think of his name offhand, but the economic minister that did exist, who was considered more of a liberal, or at least more of a conservative centrist, was actually in charge of the economy. Or Hjalmar Schacht. That's it. Yeah, Hjalmar Schacht. It just came to me. And also, of course, you had lawyers who drafted the Nuremberg laws, who were able to throw out a lot of other laws that occurred in Weimar Germany to create the Nuremberg laws and everything else against Jewish businesses and everything else. So this was a fairly slow process, and they had, like I said, there were other people like Roland Freisler, the hanging judge, people that was part of the People's Court, who was known for shouting and everything else. I can't even recreate it, but Du Schweine and everything. He was a nutcase. He was. And of course, he died in an air raid in January of 1945, I believe. But it's like there's a whole infrastructure that helped create Hitler. To say that it was simply, Facebook, and that if he had Facebook ads, I'll keep it there. Let's go ahead and continue forward.
So here's a good standard and practice.
Yeah.
Facebook. Start fact-checking political ads before you run them. Stop micro-targeted lies immediately. And when the ads are false, give back the money and don't publish them. Here's another good practice. Slow down. Every single post does not need to be published immediately. Oscar Wilde once said, "We live in an age when unnecessary things are our only necessity." But But let me ask you, is having every thought or video posted instantly online, even if it's racist or criminal or murderous, really a necessity? Of course not. The shooter who massacred Muslims in New Zealand live streamed his atrocity on Facebook, where it then spread across the internet and was viewed likely millions of times.
You know how many other murders happened on Facebook Live, including the Cleveland shooter, the black Cleveland shooter who was like shooting dudes and stuff like that? Or, you know, I think that Micah X Walker as well. There were so many other shooters that happened, but of course, now because of the fact, once again, you don't care about Muslims. You just want to do this for virtue signaling. You do not care. And I'm not going to sit here and praise Brendan Tarrant. I'm not going to. All right. To me, he was nothing more than a federal agent or somebody who was programmed. All right. And I know that's more conspiracy theory, but that's how I feel. I don't think that anybody realistically would praise it, other than the people who are just so irony poisoned. They're like, hoo, look at this video that Brendan Tarrant did. No, nobody praises him. Nobody in their right mind. I just want to point that out.
It was a snuff film brought to you by social media. Why can't we have more of a delay so that this trauma-inducing filth can be caught and stopped before it's posted in the first place?
This would be the same guy who would criticize China for the Hong Kong protests and for not being able to show videos of the Hong Kong protests. But he would support the censorship of, you know, some white nationalists, some random wignat in the United States.
Finally, Zuckerberg
streaming
said
debate,
that social media companies should live up to their
People like Sacha Baron Cohen, yeah.
But he's totally silent about
Not the Hong Kong
what should
arenas.
happen when
Yeah,
they
that's
don't.
fair. Yeah.
By now, it's pretty clear they cannot be trusted to regulate themselves. As with the Industrial Revolution, it's time.
Once again, they cannot regulate themselves. The government has to step in and make it worse. Once again, I'm going to sound like a libertarian now, so apologies, but government does not always, it's the false idea that even people like Vosh have said, government is when, socialism is when the government does stuff. It's like, bro, no. And the thing is, it's like, it's like the ADL needs to step in so that we can have, once again, you think there wouldn't be corruption if the ADL came in and started to work and took over Facebook? You think that they wouldn't start posting videos of, of Palestinians getting killed, and people are saying that's racist and everything else and that it's Islamophobic? I'd bet your bottom dollar they would. And they would find so much racism in the ADL, but of course the I can't even. Go ahead.
Time for regulation and legislation to curb the greed of these high-tech robber barons.
Yep, once again. But this is the guy that Vosh was promoting. This is a left-wing guy, We need regulation and legislation on Facebook and everything else. So, I guess it was okay when wignats were getting taken down. They were getting arrested. Some of them deserved it. But, and of course the PSL getting arrested and all that type of thing wasn't really talked about apart from people like Jason Unruh. But yeah, this guy's a leftist and he's going to defend you. And when anti-fascists, I've heard, when I heard Caleb Kane, no joke, Caleb Kane was saying that Sacha Baron Cohen was promoting fascism. And he blocks so many people because of it. It's just utterly ridiculous. But yeah.
In every other industry, a company can be held liable when their product is defective. When engines explode or seatbelts malfunction, car companies recall tens of thousands of vehicles at a cost of billions of dollars. It only seems fair to say to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, your product is defective. You are obliged to fix it.
You know what? Would he say the same thing when woke.net every night shows videos of the protests across the country. And some of those, of course, showing the shooting and the beating up of regular people. When that guy in Portland was trying to help a transgender woman, ironically, and the BLM protesters came after him and kicked him right in the head, and they beat him up. Would he have approved of that censorship? Or would he? See, this is the interesting thing of where is the line drawn, and what, your bias is already shown of what you're going to allow and what you aren't going to allow.
No matter how much it costs, and no matter how many moderators you need to employ.
Yep. Especially if they're from the ADL, that way we can take that money of the moderators and show that we are actually fighting this thing, so that we can show to our investors. And when a conference call comes up, we can say, hey, look at what we're doing. We have the ADL working at Facebook to help take down anti-Semitism in the United States, so that you can rate, so that you can give us more money. Look at how well our stock has risen. Look at the EBIT there. Look at how well our EBIT's doing. Look how much our earnings per share is. We're doing good, aren't we? Give us more money. Invest more in our stock. Do it today, right? That's all they have to do. But of course, it's about, hurting another company versus, see, this is the whole thing. I do agree with when I do hear socialists where it's like, capitalism is not one thing. Capitalism and capitalists fight amongst each other. And this is all this is. This is capitalists fighting each other. The ADL is a capitalist institution, and Facebook is a capitalist institution. These are two things that are fighting each other. That is all it is. These are two institutions that are fighting each other for supremacy over information. That's all it is.
In every
all is war. The truth is that there was no peace. Yeah. Memory TV, but unironically, yeah.
Publishers can be sued for libel. People can be sued for defamation. I've been sued many times. I'm being sued right now by someone whose name I won't mention because he might sue me again. But social media companies are largely protected from liability for the content their users post, no matter how indecent it is, by Section 230 of, get ready for it, the Communications Decency Act. It's absurd.
No, it isn't. Once again, the thing is that he tries to make it funny by saying, I'm being sued right now, this and that. The thing is that I imagine that you use Facebook for advertising. And the myth that your ads got blocked, you would, like I say, I'll repeat this again, but you would be the first one that would complain about it. And I know this was a big upset. I do remember this back in November of 2019, and people were mad as hell about this. Even lefties were mad as hell about this. But now that I'm seeing it, I'm like, oh man, this guy has, he must have gotten a big check from the ADL or something. He must have, I don't know what, but yeah. But this is Vosh's leftist sort of thing, This is Vosh's journalist right here. This is the journalist.
Fortunately, internet companies can now be held responsible for pedophiles who use their site to target children. So I say, let's also hold...
I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to deny that at all. But yeah, go ahead.
These companies responsible for those who use their sites to advocate for the mass murder of children because of their race or religion.
The IDF has a Twitter account. The State of Israel has their own account. They're you can find plenty of Zionists who have Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts. If they posted a video, once again, the hypocrisy, if they posted a video of an IDF soldier shooting unarmed Palestinian civilians, would you want to censor that too? Or would that, once again, where is the line drawn?
And maybe fines are not enough. maybe it's time to tell Mark Zuckerberg and the CEOs of these companies, you already allowed one foreign power to interfere in our elections. You already...
Once again, the whole Russia gate type of thing comes up. I mean, I'm not even going to get into that because it's so ridiculous and it's just so... Talk about racism. I mean, the thing is, you know, I don't have anything against Russia once again, but it's like, the thing is, you will blink, you know, it's like, because of that, Trump has to be somebody who has to attack Russia all the time just to prove that he isn't. But of course, people will still think that he is. And even when Joe Biden wins, if he does win in November, or it's not going to be November, it's probably going to be like December or January. But it's like nothing, you know, is that Joe Biden will, of course, claim to be so much against, you know, Russia and everything else, and yet he will have to meet with Putin. And he's going to embarrass himself immensely.
already facilitated one genocide in Myanmar. Do it again and you go to jail.
The jails are already full up as it is, man. You know, once again, I can agree with lefties to a point where it's like they're throwing everybody in jail for weed or for cannabis or for drug, you know, for having an ounce of coke on them. And they throw them in jail for, you know, 10 or 15 years or even 20 years, depending on where you are. But it's like, yeah, the jails are pretty full, man. So if you want to throw some random internet goon, you know, some random internet guy, if you want to put the kid who had the CNN meme where, you know, Trump was wrestling CNN, you know, the WWE thing, and, you know, he just did the you know, the deep fake type of thing where he's putting CNN over the guy's face. I mean, if you want to put him in jail, fine, but you're going to create your own enemy. You're going to create people that have learned the system, and now they're much worse because it doesn't, you know, I will say this, is that prison does not reform people. I will say that prison makes you a better criminal. That's all it does. But, you know, that I don't know. It's a delicate line.
In the end, it all comes down to what kind of world we want. In his speech, Zuckerberg said that one of his main goals is to uphold as wide a definition of freedom of expression as possible. It sounds good. Yet our freedoms are not only an end in themselves, they're also the means to another end. As you say here in the US, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But today, these rights are threatened by hate, conspiracies, and lies. So allow me to leave you with a suggestion for a different aim for society. The ultimate aim of society should be to make sure that people are not targeted, not harassed, and not murdered because of who they are, where they come from, who they love, or how.
The thing is that it's interesting. Will he I know that this was done in November of 2019, but would he mention this according to the Armenian issue going on with you know, these accounts that spam Turan and that show video or the ISIS videos or anything else like that? Would he mention any of those types of things? I don't think he would. Like I say, I think that Myanmar and the issues that went on between the Buddhists and the Muslims who entered Myanmar due to them fleeing Pakistan, I think it was. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and deny that it didn't happen on Facebook, but the thing is that it simply proved their beliefs. And if you think that it's purely just because of, you know, that social media does that, then people will go somewhere else. It's that simple. It's like if they follow Alex Jones and Alex Jones is kicked off of YouTube and kicked off Twitter, then they will simply continue to follow him regardless. There's always going to be a dedicated group of people who do that. It's the same thing with whichever. If you really believe these things, it doesn't matter. You're always going to find that out there.
How they pray. If we make that our aim, if we prioritize truth over lies, tolerance over prejudice, empathy over indifference, and experts over ignoramuses, then maybe, just maybe, we can stop the greatest propaganda machine in history. We can save democracy. We can still have
Hasbara? Is that what you're talking about? The greatest propaganda machine? I mean, Hasbara is pretty good, but
a place for free
Oh,
speech
yeah.
and free expression, and most importantly,
failed so far though. Yeah, that's
my
true. That
jokes
is true. The
still
Turks
work.
have failed overall. Yeah,
Thank
that's
you very
true.
much.
Yeah. I think I wanted to show that because honestly, I had no idea. I honestly had no idea it was that bad. I had no idea. Yeah, that was absolute cringe, wasn't it? That went on for quite a while, didn't it? But I covered up most of what I wanted to show. I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, they failed in Libya, they failed in Syria, so now they're picking on the small nation of Armenia. Yep, exactly. Yep. And they're just using the Azeris as a pawn. Yeah. He said the greatest propaganda machine. Yeah. That's why I said Hezbollah, Yeah. Hezbollah is pretty great. I think it's still called Hezbollah, Yeah. What they use in Israel for their propaganda machine. But yeah. I think it's utterly ridiculous. Yeah. Sasha is married to one too. Yeah. Yep. It's utterly ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous to see. And yeah, overall, yeah, the Turks have failed, though. That is true. But so far, I think Azerbaijan is very afraid, and they don't want to upset things. I think Azerbaijan is trying to be smart, but I think that they need to be more pragmatic as well. The Russians, like I say, it's a very complicated situation. I'm not going to that's why I don't really want to talk about the Azerbaijan-Armenia conflict, the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, because that's very complicated. I would rather refer to other people. But yeah, they say Afghanistan is a graveyard empire, but no one notices Armenia. Yeah, I think Armenia will fight. Yeah, I've seen Finns support Muslim Turks because the Turan meme. Yeah, I've heard that. I've seen that too. I've seen that take too. Yeah, it's very. I'm so sick of Turan, to be honest, and using that meme. It is cringe. But yeah, Indo-European. Right? It's just freedom and democracy. Yeah. But yeah, like I say, I think nonetheless it is interesting to see what these folks believe. But yeah, pray for Armenia. Definitely, yeah, pray for Armenia. I will say that. Pray for Armenia. They've been through so much, Armenia has. But yeah. Did you watch EMJ Trotsky's song? Will DeMarco said, oh yeah. I have heard that. Yeah, E. Michael Jones. We're talking about E. Michael Jones, right? Talking about Trotsky and talking about all that. Yeah, I have heard that song though, by E. Michael Jones. Let me see here if I can find it. See if I can find it. Oh, it's still on YouTube. Holy crap. Ballad of the Neocon Artist. Why not? We're going to go ahead and close out with this. We're not going to watch every single minute of it, but yeah. Oh, sorry. Shit. Sorry, I can't. Okay, let me go ahead and do it. Yeah. Called Neocons, Trotskyites. Yeah. Here we go. Sorry about that, folks. Let's go ahead and get into it.
To Australia, and he got to the customs, and the customs official said, "Do you have a criminal record?" And my son's friend said, "No. Is it still a requirement to get in here?"
That was smart.
He was deported immediately.
Yeah. No, you're not coming in.
So anyway, so the point I'm trying to make is, so I'm in this experience, I'm in the middle of the rebirth of Irish music in South Bend, Indiana, and suddenly I'm trying to bring this together with my experiences. Now, I'm not starving to death. It's not the potato famine, but it is George Bush, or it's Irving Kristol. Oh, my name is Irving Kristol, and my son, his name is Bill. In My youth I followed Trotsky, and in truth I follow him still.
Yeah.
But to call yourself a Bolshevik would fill the world with dread. So please don't call me a commie, call me a neocon instead. Yes, we are the neoconservatives, we rule the world, says I. And that dumb goy we call Georgie Boy doesn't understand how or why. Oh, we're marching into Syria, the fun has just begun. Comrade Trotsky would be proud to be known as a neocon. To keep the goyim pacified, by watching their TV. We let them watch dumb Irishmen like Sean O'Hannity. Bill O'Reilly and Chris Matthews, they can lick our boots and sigh, but to run the New World Order, no dumb Irish need apply. David Frum can excommunicate the paleos from National Review. For to be a neoconservative means to be one of a chosen few. Oh, we're marked.
I will give it to E. Michael Johnson. I'm sorry to interrupt the song, but I will give it to E. Michael Johnson. E. Michael Jones, sorry. E. Michael Jones for not bending to the Wignats, and that he is still a dedicated Catholic to his beliefs. So you know what? For that, I will say thank you, sir. So very good for you. I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, but you know what? He is a dedicated Catholic. He is a very practical practitioner of Catholicism. So I say, peace be unto you, sir. But yeah, let's go ahead and continue.
Into Syria, the fun has just begun. Comrade Trotsky would be proud to be known as a neocon. Hammurabi's tablets got busted during the looting in Iraq. But we're marching into Syria behind George Bush's back. They've got weapons of mass destruction, and they got them from Saddam Hussein. They got weapons of mass destruction, oh, repeat once more the refrain. They got weapons of mass destruction, oh, believe me, oh, believe. If you want to know just where they are, they're hidden in Tel Aviv. Oh, we're marching into Syria. The fun has just begun. Comrade Trotsky would be proud to be known as a neocon. Yes.
Well, there we go. Yeah. I agree with myself on everything. Yeah. Who does agree with everything? That's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, I think I'll keep it there, though. Yeah. See you later, An and Kazan. I appreciate everyone being involved, of course. At Roger, Will DeMarco, Install Gen 2. It's been a while since I've seen you on the stream, sir. Punjabify, Manny. This is what it's all about, Manny. Colonel Autism, Benedict, Will DeMarco. I know No More Libs, Please 1975 was in here. Union Army Ball as well. He's a Catholic old guy who, yeah. Who else? Yeah. Is a Stalinist conferred? He is our guy. Yeah. I think this is about it. Yeah. We should watch EMJ try to sound well. Okay. But yeah. I think I'll keep it there. Yeah. But y'all have a good night. Let's go ahead and play a good outro. Let's see here. God bless. Definitely. God bless. Amen to that. Let's go ahead and play an outro. Let's go ahead and do the Uncle Grandpa outro. Why not?
Again, I'll swing the old trunk gate open wide once more and run to greet the good old folks at the little cabin door. I know I'll want to sit right there and never want to roam. So get things ready for me, Monco. I'm coming home. Go out to the old smokehouse and get down that hickory ham. I ain't had no red gravy since I left